ladies and gentlemen. I am Sukriti Aduvanshi and I take this pride to welcome you all to the virtual grand finale of TechGig Code Gladiators 2022, a mega coding feast that is a meshwork of world's top coders and IT firms coming together to solve business problems that are meant to make human lives easier. I would humbly like to thank everyone for being here. We are grateful to our partners, our title partners, Oracle and Payfair, Hackathon partners HP, Entity Data and Core.ai, Diversity Hackathon partner Microsoft, Platinum partner Persistent, Recruitment partner Coldroot Group and Renewby, Health Tech hiring partner Providence, Diversity partner Publicis Sapient, Diamond partner Allstate, Silver partners Special Category Allscripts and IG Group for their constant support throughout this journey. As a host and a representative of TechGig, I'm immensely proud to tell you the fact that we've been able to break our past records of participation with every new edition. Code Gladiators 2022 saw a massive participation of 3.3 lakh coders across the globe. This spike is 4 times more than what we had in the year 2017, when we won the Guinness Book of World Record mention. In the open round, we had 35,392 submissions. Out of this, only 9,679 coders qualified to the semi-final round. In the snip and tuck, only 2,260 coders were able to qualify for the finale. The top programming languages explored by our coding superheroes this year are C, Java, Python, C++ and C#. Also, Bengaluru tops the chart in the city-wise participation, followed by Chennai, Hyderabad, Delhi and Pune. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon Mr. Sanjay Goel, Business Head, TechGig, for the welcome address.
Thank you, Sukriti. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sanjay Goel, Business Head for TechGig. I am thrilled and honored to welcome you at the virtual grand finale of the Code Gladiators 2022. Code Gladiators is a global coding competition where coders participate from every part of the globe. The first edition of Code Gladiators was started in 2014. India has always been a thriving market of software professionals, and it was not difficult to build a platform where talented coders from India and around the world could compete, network and showcase their skills to the top technology companies and industry leaders. Code Gladiators became a success because of the enthusiasm of coders. 9 years later, it has become the most preferred platform for companies to look out for the talented coders and seek out-of-the-box tech solutions to complex real-life business problems. From just 50,000 registrations in the inaugural edition in 2014, we have now grown to 3.3 lakh registrations this year. In these years, we have brought together over 15 lakh coders and 200 plus corporate partners on one platform and helped them create tech innovations. For the record, about 50 plus patents have already been filed through the hackathon solutions created here. I am proud that year after year we have been able to help ambitious coders turn their career around and also offer them industry exposure to better their career advancement. This journey has been enriching, fulfilling and inspiring. Every time someone posts on social media about participating at Code Gladiators or getting shortlisted for semi-finale, I can imagine their adrenaline rush and their resolve to outdo their skills to rise and shine in the tech domain. Over the years, I have met freshers eager to make their mark in technology or seasoned professionals competing here to prove their coding mettle. These instances make me believe that Code Gladiators has indeed excelled in the mission to become the #1 platform for tech talent discovery and recognition. In this journey, we earned many accolades, most notable ones being winning the Guinness Book of World Record and the Limca Book Record. It is now the world's biggest and the toughest coding competition to crack. In line with this trend, Code Gladiators 2022 noted many record-breaking achievements. With 3.3 lakh registrations, this year's edition surpassed participation in all the earlier editions. Also this year we had 99,000 women developers competing here, which is 54% more than last year's participation numbers. All the 3.3 lakh determined coders competed over 122 days, cleared 2 successive screening rounds to reach the final coding round, which will be held on July 23rd and 24th. I must mention here about the 4 hackathons that we hosted this year. HP Machine Learning, Entity Data AI Hackathon, Core AI Intelligent Virtual Assistant, Microsoft Azure Women's Hackathon. Collectively, these received roughly 43,000 plus registrations. While the world talks about the shortage of tech skills in niche technologies as AI, ML or cloud, the participation trends at Code Gladiators prove otherwise. All this has been possible because of progressive companies who believe in TechGig's mission and vision to provide a level playing field for all developers. I would like to formally welcome our partners, title partners Oracle and Payfair, Hackathon partners Hewlett Packard, NTT Data, Core AI and Microsoft Azure, Platinum partners Persistent, recruitment partners Colroot Group and Renewbuy, health tech hiring partner Providence, diversity partner Publicis Sapient, diamond partner Allstate and silver partners Allscripts and IG Group. Their constant support helped TechGig create the bedazzling event that we will see here today. Before I leave, I would like to welcome Abhishek Singh, CEO of MyGov, to deliver the special industry address here. He has an additional charge of President and CEO of NeGD and also MD and CEO of Digital India Corporation. He belongs to the 1995 batch of IAS and is known for policy formulation at the central government level to use technology and improve governance. He is an engineer and now using his tech learning to redefine governance. Welcome, sir. We are keenly waiting to hear your thoughts on tech skills, relevance of coding careers, and how to use technology for the greater good of people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and it's indeed my honor and privilege to be speaking at this event for Code Gladiators 2022. When we look at the journey of digital India and when we look at the digital transformation that has happened in our country in the last few years, the sheer numbers that we see are mind-boggling. 1.3 billion Aadhaar numbers given. If we look at the digital payment transactions, we have almost 6 billion transactions happening every month. Almost 40% of the entire digital payment transactions globally happens in India. We have been seeing the adoption of digital technologies in almost every sphere of life. During the pandemic, we saw this transformation get further accelerated when within no time we found children adopting to online education, people adopting to remote healthcare, farmers getting advisories on their phone through eNAM systems and the Kisan Call Share systems. We also saw how more than 5 lakh learning sessions have happened on Diksha platform. So what has led to all this digital transformation? If we look at the basic building blocks, whether it's the Aadhaar project or the UPI project or the DigiLocker project, what are they doing? The Aadhaar project, after its conceptualization, what has it done is that it has given an identity to every citizen of India. It's become the basic foundation on top of which other services are delivered. If you look at the UPI, it allows for simple, easy exchange of small value to small ticket transactions also without any user cost. No other country has a similar system in the place. For even advanced countries in US and Europe, for doing financial transaction, it's quite complicated. There's a lot of time which it takes. In India, even the poor people, even the people living in rural areas, street vendors, they all have adopted digital payments because of the ease and simplicity which it offers. If you look at the digital DigiLocker project, it's built a document wallet which allows all of us to store our information, all our documents, whether it's a PAN card or the Aadhaar card or the academic credentials or a health records or an insurance document, driving license. All such documents are digitally available on our mobile phone. It can be verified electronically. So we don't need to carry any paper documents. We don't need to prove the validity of a document by getting it attested or getting it notarized. It has resulted in a lot of convenience to citizens. If you look at all these 3 basic building blocks of the Digital India platform, they are enabling a faceless system through the Aadhaar, a cashless system through the UPI, and a paperless system through the DigiLocker project. And on top of that, using these basic building blocks and using the e-sign and e-consent layer, other departments, whether it's agriculture or whether it's healthcare, they are building public digital platforms on top of it, which is going to transform the way services are delivered in these sectors. We are also seeing that the Indian talent, the Indian coders, the Indian software professionals are the ones who are driving this adoption of digital technologies. Almost all these projects have been built in-house, built with Indian companies, built with Indian startups, built with Indian entrepreneurs, and they are changing the way the world looks at India. India has traditionally been software service provider for the whole world, but when it comes to public digital products, when it comes to building tech solutions for solving societal problems at population scale, no other country matches India. When the COVID-19 pandemic also brought us into a scenario wherein we could build a vaccination platform in almost no time, which has enabled giving more than 200 crore doses to Indians across the country. It facilitated booking of vaccination appointments, it facilitated downloading of vaccination certificates, it facilitated verification of vaccination appointments. During COVID-19 also, Arogya Setu app, which was developed in a flat 15 days, that also showed the prowess that Indian entrepreneurs, Indian techies, Indian government has. That was also built during lockdown and launched, which really helped us in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. We also saw how the MyGov help desk was built in on WhatsApp, a chatbot, which has got more than 90 million, 9 crore users. And this is the world's largest such chatbot, which allows access to COVID-19 related information. It allows services with regard to vaccination appointment booking, downloading of certificates. And now it's also offering all services of DigiLocker on a simple WhatsApp interface, wherein you can go there, send a hi or a namaste, and download all your documents, whether like the driving license or the PAN card or the Aadhaar card. All your documents which are there on the Aadhaar card are also accessible there. We have been building all these tech services, and India has become a huge consumer of e-services when it comes to building for accessing public services. But when we do that, another challenge that we face is that how do you handle issues of digital inclusion? How do you ensure that every person in India across the length and breadth of the country can access these services? We have challenges of connectivity. We have challenges of people not having access to a device. We have challenges of people not having the skill sets to access to download an app or to access e-services. To mitigate this problem, to mitigate this challenge, what we did right from the beginning was that the concept of assisted access was built in, which allowed people to go to a common service center and get services by paying a service fee. We have a network of 500,000 common service centers across India, and these centers offer all kinds of services, public services, business services to people. This is really ensured inclusion. In the next step, what is being done is that services are also being enabled in all Indian languages, so that language doesn't become a obstacle or a barrier for accessing e-services. Then it was also felt that there are more than 500 million Indians who would require a voice interface for accessing services, because they would not be comfortable writing a URL on a portal or putting credentials on a mobile app. They would want to talk to a mobile phone just like we talk to an Alexa and a Siri's. So towards this objective, voice-enabled services are being built on the Umang platform, which should go live very soon. And the same interface will also enable people with feature phones to call up a toll-free number and access services which they want. So if you want to get details with regard to status of your ration card or a driving license or a passport, you can either speak to your smartphone, hey Umang, what's the status of my driving license? Or you can call up a toll-free number on a feature phone or a landline phone, identify yourself with your credentials, and then get access to any service that is required. This would also require a lot of digital literacy to be built in. So when we want people to be aware, when we want people to access e-services, skilling becomes a very important program. So for that, the government had launched the Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Saksharta program, PMG Disha that we call, which has training 6 crore people, 60 million people in digital literacy, in basic digital literacy. Then there was another objective, that how do we reskill and upskill? Because the way emerging technologies are coming up, the way AI is coming up, blockchain is coming up, there's always a need to reskill and upskill our techies, our graduates, our people who are in the job market, people who are seeking jobs. So for this objective, we MeitY along with NASSCOM had built in a platform called Future Prime Skills, which offers online courses on all the emerging technologies, whether it's IoT, whether it's AR, VR, blockchain, Metaverse, artificial intelligence, data science, data analytics. All these courses are available on Future Prime Skills, which can be accessed by any individual by going on the platform, registering there, doing these courses and acquiring these skills. So skilling and building capacities becomes a very important part in this whole Digital India program. Then when we work on all these things and when we look into the strength that India has, especially in the field of artificial intelligence, in the field of building tech solutions, today India is regarded as the world startup capital. The number of startups which are being incubated in India every day and the number of startups which are turning unicorns by getting investments from everyone across the world is made India the most sought after destination for building solutions. We have had almost 105 unicorns in the last few years, and more companies are building solutions, and more companies who are trying, more and more venture capitalists and angel investors who are wanting to find the next big thing in the tech world, they are looking to India for finding such companies. Then when we come to trained manpower, skilled manpower who can build solutions in the technology space, who can build solutions for artificial intelligence, there is no other country but India. India is ranked very highly. I think we are the number 2 ranked when it comes to providing trained and skilled manpower for building technological solutions and AI-based solutions. So that this strength of Indian startup ecosystem and the strength and the capabilities of India's trained manpower, along with the public digital platforms that India has built, whether with the Aadhaar, with the UPI, with the DigiLocker, with the e-sign framework, with the vaccination platform, with the Ayushman Bharat Health Mission, with the initiatives which have been done for education, for agriculture. This makes India a very hot space, a very vibrant space for building digital technologies. The investments India is looking at and getting at for electronics manufacturing, India has already become the second largest manufacturer of mobile phones, and with the PLI scheme and the Indian semiconductor mission coming in, India is now also being seen as a very important destination for electronics manufacturing, and countries which are looking at diversifying and reducing the dependence on only China, they're also looking at India as setting up their manufacturing bases. So this will result in a huge expansion of our manufacturing capacities. We have always been a leader in the IT-enabled services and the BPO sector. So when we combine all these things, our strength as a software service provider, our emerging strength as an electronics manufacturing hub, our strength for building solutions in emerging technologies, AI, blockchain space, together we have all the wherewithal which requires India to become a $1 trillion digital economy. And this, with the efforts of all our entrepreneurs, our startups, and our academicians, the researchers, we are poised to make this India's decade, as our Honorable Prime Minister says. So I would conclude by saying that we have in it within us, and the next few years, this decade will be India's decade. We all have to join hands. Government has to join hands with industry, startups, entrepreneurs, academia, and together we'll make this happen. I also thank the organizers and convey my best wishes to all the coders who are looking forward for the announcements or results which are expected in some time. So wish you all the best, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to be able to share some of my thoughts with you.
Thank you for those marvelous words, Mr. Singh. Let's move to the next segment. Developers are an integral part of the digital transformation journey of organizations. They architect modular systems that overcome legacy and build the applications and solutions that allow firms to deliver products and services in a new and innovative ways. Our second special guest tonight will tell us how coders are at the front end of driving critical business innovations. I would like to call upon Ms. Bo English-Wiczling, Head of DevRel at Oracle, the title sponsor for Code Gladiators 2022.
Hi, I'm Bo English-Wiczling, Global Head of Developer Relations for Oracle. I joined Oracle 5 years ago, and my team is obsessed with developers, what they're doing, the tools they're using, where they're going, and helping them with the tools they need to get there. We're changing the way that Oracle talks to developers to engage them where they are and to showcase solutions that we can provide. I want to talk to you today about the future of developers. According to some projections, there will be 45 million developers around the world by 2030. And GitHub expects that number to reach 100 million. So let's put this into perspective. There are approximately 7.7 billion people worldwide. 100 million developers is more than 1% of the global population of Earth. And when we think about what that 1% means, it means that engineers are everywhere. 1 out of every 77 person is an engineer, and they're designing almost every aspect of our life. From cars we drive, to the clothes we wear, from the water we drink, to the planes we take to our vacation destinations. Everything we integrate with was built by an engineer. And thinking about how you use your phone, what about the endless hours you spent on YouTube, my secret obsession, and posts that you read on social media, haircut appointments you make online, Zoom calls with your coworkers, remodeling and decorating ideas from Pinterest. And don't even get me started on the pygmy goat epidemic on TikTok. Now, each one of these things were designed and created by engineers, and that's just today. Let's talk about where we're going. Soon, we'll see a radical shift in software development. Today, developers are designing, coding, maintaining, but in the future, developers will be creators of AI systems. The rise in machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and code generation technologies will improve in such a way that humans will create the machines that write the code. For the fans of the Matrix, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, did we just take the red pill? And no, I'm not talking about machine uprising or human batteries. I'm talking about Skynet. No, I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, what I am talking about is not necessarily physical coding in the future, but developers training machines to write code. AI will change the landscape for engineers. And in the future, developers will not write computer programs. They'll maintain code repositories. In the future, software developers will source and compose large data sets to train applications to be smart, instead of hard coding whatever the desired capability is. The work you will eventually do will feed neural networks. You're already seeing some of this in self-driving cars, manufacturing robots, disease mapping, smart assistants. And while these are emerging and growing, we're not going to be living in Westworld anytime soon. But at Oracle, we're preparing for the robot revolution. We have an AI and ML services available on our cloud platform, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And we have models that can be easily trained with your own data. The anomaly detection service already used to detect fraud. We have speech services available to convert text to speech, and even vision services, which applies computer vision to analyze image-based content. Developers can easily integrate pre-trained models into their applications with APIs or custom training models. So as a developer, how do you prepare for this change in the future? And you need to evolve as the world evolves. The most in-demand skills are data scientists, software engineers, and machine learning engineers. The demand for these roles has doubled over the last 3 years, and it's projected to rise at the same pace. To stay relevant, you must acquire skills such as cognitive computing, natural language processing, data mining, text analytics, Hadoop, Spark, and many more. And since relevancy changes over time, those relevant skills will also change over time. So you need to know how to stay current and ensure you continue to gain new skills as emerging trends continue. If you're wondering how to acquire those skills, there are many ways and opportunities available online or in person. For example, Oracle has robust hands-on labs and workshops around data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, as well as the anomaly detection, vision, speech, and those services on developer.oracle.com. We even have labs and workshops that are facilitated by the actual engineers that wrote the code. So you have an opportunity to ask the developers about their own service and learn how they will work with your favorite tech stack. We're living through an exciting and amazing time. In our lifetime, we'll be able to experience and witness the real shift in the way technology is going to impact the world. And as you prepare for the robot revolution and for your future. Think about all the ways that technology touch and impact our lives. Think about where you want to make that impact. Then choose that field and choose how you can feed the neural network. Thanks for taking the red pill.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I'm sure our coding champs have made a note of all the scopes you've shared with us tonight. TechGig has been constantly emphasizing to learn, compete, and to grow all aspects for developers. So here's presenting how software developers are going to redefine the future of technology. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Rishabh Rathi and I am member of technical staff at VMware. I am a computer science engineer graduating from Sri Ramdev Baba College of Engineering and Management in the year 2022. Last year, I participated in TechGig Code Gladiators contest and secured world rank 3.
I am Anil Majithia, this is Jatin Seni, and we both have been participating in Code Gladiators since 2020.
Hello, my name is Chaitanya Kulkarni. I am working as a senior software engineer. I have total 4.5 years of experience completely into automation and artificial intelligence.
Hi everyone, I am Gayatri Marathe. Currently I am working in TCS as a software engineer. I was awarded the Best Female Coder Award at the TechGig Code Gladiator 2021.
My name is Devneet Maudli. I'm working as a senior consultant in Wonderboss India Private Limited.
Yes, I am participating in Code Gladiators even this year. I have already started sharpening up my coding skills and I have started working on one of the innovative idea. So this is gonna be kind of alarm for my competitors.
So I participated last year in TechGig Code Gladiators 2021 and this was my first time. But I have been a keen watcher of TechGig Code Gladiators competition over the last few years. And let me tell you, Code Gladiators has never disappointed us. It has always evolved, even in the pandemic situation with the virtual events that it organized last year. And it was such a fun and such a great platform to interact with other competitors that we got to compete against.
Participating in such a contest is a great learning experience and brings in an adrenaline rush. Apart from this, we also get a chance to upskill, network with the brightest and mightiest coders across the globe, and exciting prizes of course.
Code Gladiators gave me the learning opportunity with a lot of good coders. It gave me the confidence and taught me how to face any challenge in coding with confidence.
Code Gladiators helped me improve my problem-solving skills and gave me an edge over others. Winning at such a grand contest helped boost my confidence and gave me mass recognition. Participating in coding competition is one of its kind experience and it helped me improve my career prospects. This is a good chance for any developer to demonstrate his coding talent to the most sought-after employers.
That is definitely the 2020 Code Gladiators when we first tried it out, and there was this moment where we were waiting for the winners to be announced, and there was this red carpet rolling down. So it was the third person, the second person, and then when we were not in third and second, we both were like we might have lost it. So we were like very anxious at that moment. But in the last moment, when the red carpet rolled and our names were on the screen, that was like one of the best moments we had in that whole competition.
Yes, I made many friends. It was a great platform for networking and even now I am in contact with them and we are planning to team up in the next event.
One thing that I feel that was different is like TechGig Code Gladiators provided us an entire virtual fest. So in this virtual fest, you can go to multiple rooms, you can engage with multiple people all at the same time. and it was such a unique and such a innovative platform where we actually spent our time. So I think like yes, that metaverse feel that we got from the last year's event finale, it was just splendid and something different than we have actually experienced in any competition so far.
In the 21st century, we have seen many innovations, advancements and disruptions happening in the software development industry. And with rapid digitalization, we will see even more dramatic changes in the upcoming decade. Be it quantum computing, driverless cars, brain mapping, blockchain or artificial intelligence. Software developers are redefining the future of technology every single day. Quantum computing is getting significantly advanced, and in the coming future, engineers will use it in real-world scenarios like weather forecasting, drug development, interstellar travel, and much more. Also, advancements in brain mapping and the development of brain-computer interface will make our brains faster and smarter. So this is a great time to be in the software development industry and be a part of such drastic changes that will change our civilization forever.
I would suggest just go with your gut feeling, like what you feel is right. And if you are well versed with some technology, try to stick to that, so that because it's a short duration of time, which you'll realize very soon. So it's better to do what you already know than to learn a new language on YouTube and then try to implement it, because that is way harder to do in just a 24-hour time span. Yeah.
All you coders, don't you feel proud of yourselves? You are the driving force behind these technologies the world is leveraging today. Tonight at Code Gladiators, we are celebrating each one of you. When it comes to the world of technology, one topic that's dominating the conversations now is Metaverse. It has hyped after Facebook renamed itself as Meta and announced the launch of Metaverse. The scope of Metaverse blockchain is expected to be genuinely unlimited and the future of technology as well. As Metaverse developers, what are the things you should know? What languages to learn, which skills to enhance, and what career path to choose? We have got you covered with two Metaverse experts. Please welcome Dr. Ashok Maharaj, Metaverse architect from TCS, and Harshal B. Kolambe, XR technology lead from Infosys, to address this special segment on the age of Metaverse, what developers should know.
Thank you very much, Sukriti, for the introductions. So I'm Dr. Ashok Maharaj, really delighted to be part of this conversation. And I think we have a good flow for the next few minutes on the evolution of Metaverse and what's in it for enterprises and for folks like you guys who are all watching. Briefly about me, I head the XR labs for Terra Consultancy Services. I've been looking at augmented, virtual, and mixed realities for close to 22 years now. I'm an academic, did my MS and PhD from Georgia Institute of Technology in the US. I had the privilege of working for NASA for 3 years. I was also a Guggenheim Fellow with the Smithsonian. For the last 10 years in TCS, I've been looking at immersive ecologies, basically applying, all of these extended reality technologies for learning, for digital twins, and also for a lot of onboarding experiences. So in this conversation that I'm going to have with Harshal from Infosys, we're going to really unpack the whole metaverse itself, because that's the subject that has befuddled a lot of people. And many companies are trying to start this journey of really understanding what this metaverse is and what it can do for different, not only social groups but also for industries and also for enterprise. I just want my colleague to take it up and maybe Harshal, you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your journey so far with the extended reality.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dr. Ashok, Sukriti, for the introduction. I'm excited to be here and like appreciate the opportunity to talk on the topic of metaverse, which is relevant at the point of time and like a buzzword around the globe. Uh, like for me, like I started my journey, as a game developer in 2012, and like worked my way across, like working on many different games, which are like deployed on across the platforms like Android, iOS devices, computers and consoles. Uh, and currently, I like from past 6 years onwards, I'm working with Infosys as a XR and Metaverse technology lead in the unit called Infosys Center for Tech. I work as a XR and Metaverse technology lead from the unit in Infosys, which is called as Infosys Center for Emerging Technology and Solutions. Yeah, that's it about me. Over to you, Dr. Ashok.
All right. Okay. So, Harshal, you've been hearing about this buzzword, right? Ever since Facebook was rechristened as, Meta, we have seen many companies joining the bandwagon and trying to position themselves as as someone who has been working in this metaverse field for quite a long time, right? Um, I know metaverse definition is a moving target. If you had asked me last month what is the definition of metaverse, I would have given a completely different one, from what I'm sharing now. So, what is your definition of the metaverse, and why do you think this is going to bring a paradigm shift in the way we have been looking at computing?
Yeah. So according to me, there is no fixed definition for metaverse, but according to me, metaverse we can define it as like a virtual world where people can interact with each other virtually, obviously, with their digital avatar and buy and sell stuff using virtual currency. So that can be a like short and sweet definition. Also, you can say that it is nothing but a massive interconnected network of virtual spaces which are connected over internet using like say latest technologies like Web3 and all, where we can collaborate virtually from anywhere and like from the comfort of our home. What basically you view as a metaverse when we call something as a metaverse?
All right. So as I mentioned, metaverse definition is a moving target, and someone beautifully articulated that it's good that it is not fully defined because we kind of give the terminology more creative freedom to kind of constantly evolve and bring multiple elements inside, right? Once when you try to define something, what happens is, it kind of put a boundary around it, right? So based on a lot of definitions that I've seen so far, I really like the definition given by the CEO of Unity, John DiCicco, and so he defined, the metaverse as the next generation of the internet or the next evolution of the internet, and that is always real time, mostly 3D, mostly interactive, mostly social, mostly persistent. And I think this definition is really, good to understand the metaverse and what you're seeing out there. That is being populated as metaverse. If you kind of look through the definition, it's not the metaverse at all, right? Just having a virtual reality experience with avatars and people greeting each other is not the true metaverse itself. If you kind of go back to what Neil Stevenson has framed in his book Snow Crash, that kind of metaverse, is going to take a lot of time for it to come. So let's kind of stick to this definition for now. I repeat it again. It's the metaverse is the next generation of the internet. It is always real time, mostly 3D, mostly interactive, mostly social, and lastly, mostly persistent. So that's how I kind of lean towards. And what do you think would be the job roles for developers with regards to metaverse? Hmm? I know in the past we have seen different waves, right? For example, your own CEO kind of mentioned the design thinking revolution, right? And then overnight we have seen a lot of influx of design thinkers in the organization, and similarly data science and so on. So what are all the you know uh, the job roles for developers with regards to Metaverse?
Yeah, so that's like an interesting take and question, basically. So the current job roles are still valid for the metaverse development, but we can still like sort them out in some categories. So there could be like immediate job role which can be as a metaverse or ecosystem architects. Their basically focus will be on the groundwork for the metaverse application, not just for the development, but they will create a they will basically create the frameworks to create the metaverse application using technologies like cloud, IoT, and blockchain. Also, similarly, there could be a metaverse planner and metaverse designer job role, where basically they will oversee a design of metaverse which particular client is supposed to build. Also, there could be a job role for a metaverse storyteller. As I said, like graphics artist and people or like game designer can venture into this role, basically, where their job is nothing but to design the experiences as per the requirement. So they can explore and build the stories around the training, like training scenarios for military, virtual classroom for student, and like some maybe a psychology sessions. Also, most important job role will be metaverse developer, which is currently also in market. All right, so those will be like a mostly a faction of programmers that will be responsible for developing a metaverse itself using frameworks and tools like Decentraland, Roblox, Sandbox, Unity, and other game engines. Also, then there will be a metaverse content creators. For that, like 3D artists and persons have that 3D skills, they can venture into it. They will use the tools like Autodesk Maya, Max, ZBrush to create the beautiful 3D models. Then the most important role in the metaverse, which we can say like a backbone of the metaverse, is like blockchain engineer. So blockchain engineers will be definitely needed for metaverse. Their main role is to they will be responsible for establishing and constructing a digital blockchain and decentralizing the metaverse itself, enabling user to do a secure transaction using NFT and cryptocurrencies inside virtual world. Also, there will be like cloud engineers needed for metaverse to scale at large using cloud technologies like GCP, AWS, and Azure cloud. Also, we can have like metaverse safety manager or cyber security experts, because in metaverse user safety matters. So if you have recently heard, there are some cases where some harassment happened of the digital avatar. So that needs to be stopped. So for that, this role plays a major part. How we can stop it and how we can overcome that kind of thing. Also, there is like new form of cyberbullying is there. Also, monetary or digital NFT threat can happen. So for that, metaverse cyber security expert will be needed. And say like down the line, after say a decade, just like web 2.0 transition to like web 1.0 transition to web 4.0, it took almost a decade kind of time frame. So if we consider from now, metaverse will take that much time frame, then like say when the metaverse economy is fully established, like say a decade down the line, we can have particular roles in metaverse like metaverse event manager. So one can be virtually present in metaverse. They can own their own space. They can host and create the events, and people basically join using paying token, using cryptocurrency, and that can go like that. So there could be this kind of job also. Like meta lawyers also will be needed to secure your digital art and NFT, copyright them, and trademark laws like this.
Great, Harshal. Great. So, when we were, starting the journey in Metaverse, there were a lot of challenges that we faced. I'm sure, in your development cycle or putting together application, you would have faced a lot of challenges. But I just want to ask you real quick, what is one experience that really warmed you, in this whole, immersive experience? And what is the one thing that you would really like to see in future? I will also share my perspective on that.
Yeah. So currently, what I like about this technology and like Singh is that basically our ability for anyone to connect, even if you do not have like costly HMTs or mobile phones, so you can connect from any platform. You can join from web application, standard computer application, or if you have like virtual headset, like Oculus Quest, HTC Vive, like that. So you can just join in the metaverse, and you can interact with people like throughout the world. You don't need to go. You can do your virtual meeting over there, like as if you are just meeting someone else. You can buy stuff. So I see it is like going to be a like full-fledged sort of economy, which sort of will replace the real world, not completely, but in a sense. So and as the metaverse is sort of portrayed in a Ready Player Me movie, where everyone can join in the metaverse, work there, earn their money, like that. So that sort of thing that I look forward to, and I believe that it will reach there in future definitely.
Okay. When I started the metaverse journey, I never thought that that virtual meetings can be that lively. Right? We ourselves have created a product called as Ava Presence, which is a portmanteau of two words, avatar and presence, which are kind of the main focus for all of these virtual collaborations. One is your avatar, another one is your present. Right? It could be a persistent environment, or it could be a non-persistent environment. But coming together of these two forces to create the virtual collaboration is something that is really profound. And so that's one area where it really involved me. Having people connecting from different geographies, all shaking hands and greeting each other and so on. What I'd like to see in future with metaverse is about this privacy and security that we talked about, Harshal, right? Unlike Twitter and Facebook, the security is an afterthought, right? Or the privacy issues was an afterthought. 10 years down the line, only people started to question about, okay, I'm being surveilled, like there is a lot of surveillance going on. There is this privacy issues. No one thought about these questions when the technology was being formed, right? So now we have this great opportunity to really grapple with these central issues, like, for example, the harassment that you pointed out. So there are so many rules and regulations we can bring as the technology itself is evolving, right? So I'd like to see a metaverse which is more democratic, which is accessible, which are addressing the core, democratic values of the society that we live in, right? So it should be more liberating to the general population than constraining. So I think that's the future I'd like to see in the evolution of the metaverse. And I'm sure some of the folks who are watching this from the developer community will be equally passionate to really create this whole ecosystem to be more responsible. So I'm looking forward to a responsible metaverse, in a nutshell. So, Sukriti, thanks so much for giving us this opportunity to dialogue and talk about, what is this metaverse, what are the challenges, opportunities, and what's in it for the developer community and for the future. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Ashok. Thank you, Dr. Ashok and Sukriti and TechGig team.
Thank you, Mr. Maharaj and Mr. Kolambe, for this fantastic walkthrough of the meta world. That was the world of meta, ladies and gentlemen. Our next segment is a conversation between leaders who also create and assemble coding superheroes to work on innovation. Superheroes who work on real-world battles. Confused? Let me elaborate. There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people. See if they could become something more. See if they could work together to fight the battles we never could. Quoted Director Fury famously when explaining to the audience why he felt compelled to put the Avengers initiative together in the first edition of the Marvel Avengers. As we fight to make the world a better place for not only ourselves but also the future generations, the power of the collective is always going to do more than the singular brilliance. We have 6 fabulous speakers who are leaders that come together and look for superheroes to find tech solutions to a defined problem statement. Let's find out about these people who assemble the Avengers to code and conquer at TechGig Code Gladiators. So I'm here with a set of fantastic speakers today. Please join me in welcoming Corina Gheonea, Director of UiPath Community, Hasit G. Trivedi, CTO, Digital Technologies and Global Head AI Tech Mahindra, Suhas Shivanna, Strategist and Chief Architect HPE, Rajneesh Kinney, Senior Vice President and CTO Cyient, Mukesh Jain, CTIO, Vice President and Global Head of Innovation Capgemini, and Sujay Phadke, Principal Engineering Manager, Corporate CTO Organization, Persistent Systems. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show and thank you for being a part of the TechGig Code Gladiators 2022 Grand Finale. And I'm looking forward to some interesting insights from each one of you. But before I go ahead and ask questions to each one of you, I would want each one of you to tell me how excited you are for being a part of this Grand Finale and what you're looking forward to. So, Corina, let's begin with you.
Thank you. An honor to be here. Excited to be here. So each year, the grand finale, I see it as a celebration of the year, a celebration of innovation. So many participants, so many amazing ideas. Looking forward to see who the winners are. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Corina. Mukesh?
This is always exciting for being part of this platform. I've been associated with this from almost 8 years now, and definitely looking forward for some great innovations, some great minds, how they code, and then looking forward for the finale. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukesh. Hasit?
I think this is a fantastic platform and very appropriate timely also, because I think the way industry is growing, the way the digital technologies are being adopted, these kind of platform will bring the industry and programmers and participants together. And this collaboration through the industry is very fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Suhas?
Pleasure to be here as part of the grand finale, and looking forward for all the innovations that will be showcased in the coming hours.
Thank you so much, Suhas. Rajneesh?
Pleasure to be here and very excited to be part of this enormous event. I think events like this, with size and scale, are not easy to conduct. So congratulations, and looking forward to a major event like this today.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh. Sujay?
Hi, so this is my first time here. So looking forward for the best of the solutions to come out.
Thank you so much, Sujay. So now let's create more excitement of sharing the insights that you're here for. We're here, we are in a coding competition, and I would want to start with that first. So time has evolved, and we see a lot of relevance of these coding competitions and hackathons coming in. But what, as experts, you think of the relevance and how do you think it has evolved over the time is something that I would want to know from each one of you. So, Corina, let's begin with you. What do you think, how the relevance has changed and how do you think it has evolved with time when it comes to coding competitions and hackathons?
Yeah, definitely are more and more serious, but also fun. So hackathons keep the fun of it, but you can be bold through hackathons. It's a nice playground for people that want to push themselves a bit more or want to showcase a bit more of their work. It's the best opportunity to innovate, to push things further, people to listen to you, leaders to listen to you, and to have a voice, to have a say. This is a really, really nice way. It's becoming more and more serious. So year over year, I see as well how many other leaders are looking forward to get to meet the participants, see the innovative ideas, and then also the follow-up, making those real. So I think it's an important way of innovating in the business space, in the technology space.
Thanks, Corina, for that. I'll move to Hasit now.
Yeah. I think let's see the world of sports, music, and art. Most of these places are full of competition, isn't it? So I think why the industry like ours should be away from that competition. And I think what competition brings is excellence, champions, spirit of losing gracefully, spirit of recovering from failure. And if you go by the way the sportsman emerges, they reinvent themselves because the games are changing, the competitions are changing. Now in the similar fashion, in IT industry, the technologies are changing so rapidly, and thus a programmer or developer needs to reinvent their skill on an ongoing basis. And this kind of platform, which never existed few years back at a scale, Right? Of course, it was in some subscale, it was there, but at the scale it exists. Now there's a platform to reinvent yourself, try it out yourself, experiment some of the great stuff, and get yourself measured against the competition. So it's a fantastic platform which is emerging, and it will make all the professionals in this space more matured, more competitive, more skilled, and many champions will emerge from it. So it's a fantastic way of scaling this piece.
Thank you, Hasit. We'll move to Mukesh.
Sure. So I think in a system where we are, the education system, right, a lot of people learn new things, a lot of people are learning the technology part, but then they get some good score and all. But that probably is not enough right now to be able to evaluate whether they will be able to do great stuff at the level what we want in the maturity of the code we write and the optimized code and so on. So platforms like Code Gladiator definitely helps us get the best out of these people, and especially when there's a competition, people do more. And that's what my learning has been. Like, people will do more, people will compete, people will learn more, and that becomes easier for us as an organization to pick some of the best talent from those as well. The innovation part, so right now when they are learning from scratch, bottom up, which is more on academia focus, they may not get that exposure, but Code Gladiator and interaction with some of us gives that exposure to these kids, to students, to do a lot more innovation with this. So definitely this is evolving, and for us as an organization, this becomes a good yardstick or good starting point for us to evaluate between 10 people with the similar skills. Otherwise, that's what I would say the benefits of these hackathons are.
Thank you, Mukesh. Rajneesh?
Sure. I think hackathons are the need of the industry today, right? So there are so many new technologies coming up, so many diverse talent needs coming up. So, and we need it all like yesterday, right? So this is definitely one of the key needs of the industry. But three things that I would call out that we leverage, or generally industry leverages hackathons for me. One is definitely looking for talent need, right? Addressing the talent need. Second one, where you see a big impact, is idea generation, right? So you come up with a very abstract topic and then see what kind of ideas are coming in. So many a times you're really surprised with the ideas that you see on the board, right? So that's big. The third thing I would say is speed of innovation, right? So innovation, there is no other place where innovation happens with such speed, because you are bringing in various people together, right? And the intensity or the intelligence from various groups coming together in such a short time is huge potential for innovations as well. So really something that industry will leverage going forward on a continuous basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajneesh. Suhas?
Yeah, I think great points made by other panelists, right? So I'll just take the word skill. I think for the modern problems that we are facing, skill building is going to be very, very key, right? We are dealing with complex problems, and it's just not technology skills, problem solving skills are needed, but we also need the innovation skills that Rajneesh and others covered. We need the collaborative skills, and if you have leadership skills and right emotional skills, you have a complete package. What I feel with these hackathons and competition, right, competitive programming, is that people can develop the three skills that are required: problem solving, innovation, and collaborative skills. Because you need to work with people, get to know, right, understand that you can agree to disagree in many cases and then solve the problem, right? And then it helps you to come out of the comfort zone. That's very, very key for me, right? The second part, if you look at what's happening in India, is coding, right? Kids are starting coding at a very young age. And these competitions, if done at the right level, for example, we have a competition called HP Code Wars, which is for 9th and 12th standard, can help again build the skills, and we will have Bill Gates coming out of India and churning out code, new operating system, etc. Right? So that's very good for India as well as the IT industry. The third part, it is just not hiring; it's about developing and engaging that existing talent in the industry. Right? Sometimes we need to give them the right challenge, and these platforms will help us do all these things. So overall, I think Code Gladiators and all the competition, it's very important for the IT industry.
Thank you, Suhas. Sujay?
Hi. So, you have to look at a hackathon from multiple angles, right? So one of the angles is creativity. So what tends to happen with very technical people is that they are focused right on their job and what problem they are solving. But the world needs more Steve Jobs and more Richard Bransons, and these people are not necessarily technical, they're creative. So it's very important to bring that aspect out of yourself. The second aspect I feel is that technical people tend to become fish in a pond. So you are within a group, you're working on a set of things, but then you tend to again focus too much, right? But an opportunity like Code Gladiators, you become a fish in an ocean. So you know what is out there, you learn a lot more, and you change. So both ways it is good.
Rightly said, Sujay. I think that fish quote that you've just made. It's a pool that we create for people and organizations wherein you pick up and look for your solutions. So I agree with you. Corina, I'll move to you. You are actually managing the entire community, right? There, and this is like a sole responsibility that you do. Like it's an everyday process for you. Help me understand that how are hackathons and coding contests being leveraged to pick up the best talent? So they just mentioned, that it's a pool that we create, and you have to look at it that way. Tell me, how do you pick up the right talent? What is your approach? How do you envision it?
Yeah, definitely. So hackathons are things that we do. The hackathons are embedded in the DNA of our community. In a way, the hackathons were there when we started with the community. It was something that they loved to do, to participate, and we still continue to run hackathons. What we do around hackathons is that we ensure there is an ecosystem. So it's not just we keep you there only to focus on the idea, and then you have the presentation, and in the end you win, and that's all. So it's an entire ecosystem, it's an entire celebration that brings together recruiters, that brings together other technology partners, recruiters from other partners and customers. As jury members, we try to put jury members as diverse as possible for that talent that joins the competition to be able to be exposed and to be able to get to network and collaborate with so many others. In the end, to get to have maybe a new job, a new opportunity, a new project, if this is something that they the attention of leaders or of new other partners, focus quite a lot on this entire ecosystem that gets built with this intention of talent to be also recognized. So we put their mentors, we try to combine the recruiting techniques that are there, like a CV, an interview and all that. We try to bring those to be as immersive as possible. So if someone really wants to recruit, we just let them know, be part of the hackathon, ensure you have mentors, ensure you guide the team. Like for them to be there in the entire process and not to go just with the formal way of doing a recruiting and matching talent with companies. So this is what we try. We try to be innovative with hackathons.
Corina, there were some disturbances in between. Can you just re-record that part a little for you? Because in the end, it went well, but in the beginning, it was a little. So just try and re-answer that for me once.
Which part?
the starting part, at least.
Yeah.
Or if you can just comprehensively give me, a brief of the entire thing that you've just spoken. That would be good. We'll use that.
Yeah. So the main thing for us to ensure that hackathons are not just simple basic hackathons with that piece of it, like there is a brief, you solve it, you win. So what we do is that we build an ecosystem where many stakeholders, technology partners, recruiters get to know and get to collaborate with the participants. So this is something that we try to do when building a hackathon, an entire playground, an entire ecosystem.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Corina. I think, how you envision, how you strategize, and then how you execute things is all three of steps that we are looking at is very important when it comes to conducting any hackathons and picking up the right talent. I will now move to, Sujay. Sujay, help me understand, you are the principal engineering here, and you're somebody who knows this by code. So tell me, and tell our developers majorly, that why should developers actually participate in such competitions? What is the importance, and why does it hold so much of relevance in today's time?
Sure. So by the way, at Persistent, we also hold internal hackathons for the very same reason that I'm going to give now. I gave an analogy of a fish in the pond versus fish in the ocean. And the reason why I did that is because in my career so far, I have seen people, like I used to work at a hardware company, and every company needs to have a software, right? Software department to do some things. No company can live without software. People working in niche areas, working on niche technologies, over time become outdated. They don't realize it, but they become outdated. And then you become a person who is not employable anywhere, right? So it's better to get out there to see what's there in the ocean, pick up new skills, and this is the best opportunity to do that. So that's my take on that.
Thank you. That was short, crisp, and very straight. I'm sure the comparison that you're trying to draw and upskill is something that you would want to tell them, because a consistency there when you require to update yourself with what's going on, what's trending, and what is actually in demand in the market is something that the developers should constantly look for. So thank you so much for that, Sujay. I will now move to Mukesh. Mukesh, how do you think hackathons and coding competitions such as Code Gladiators help businesses to grow as well as solve business problems? You have HP is also given out business problem to our participants this time. From the business perspective, how do you think this works out?
So I think one of the way we have done, and I've seen the innovation evolve in the last 11 years in India. One of the things which we always used to have, people with experience used to always work on it, and then they would get certain view, 2 people, 3 people, 6 people working on a problem. But now we have exposed the problem to like crowdsourcing, right? We are exposing the problem to thousands of people. They get to see what actually the organization go through building some of the large software, some of the great product like HP, like Microsoft, like Google. What do they go through to build certain things? How do companies like consulting companies like Persist and Capgemini and other companies get involved, Tech Mahindra, get involved to solve those problems? But now each of these individuals, each of these fresh minds has this opportunity. So now when they are doing something, and I always love it. Even at Capgemini, we conduct a lot of hackathon, and a couple of universities I conduct hackathon. But one thing I find out that every time I do something, recently I did a hackathon on sustainability. Every time I see something, I get some new ideas, right? So for the business, it becomes good to get some new ideas, of course. But at the same time, we can find those good people, those sharp people who have those ideas. Sometimes idea is worthwhile. Sometimes there's people with those ideas come. I think this is a good platform for us to bridge the gap further between the academia and the industry, and at the same time get that exposure to these students, which normally in the past they would have not got without participating in the hackathon. So that is I think the win-win situation we have from the business side of it as well.
Thank you so much for that. Hasit, tell me that, developers are leveraging coding competitions, as, Sujay also mentioned about updating themselves. But help us understand from the career development perspective that how can developers actually leverage such coding competitions for better career development and upskilling? Because those are the 2 important aspects that Sujay also touched upon.
Yeah, I think again, I will draw a parallel to sports. I think all of us would know that what IPL has done for the cricketing community, correct? And I'll draw the parallel of what Corina said, bringing ecosystem together. IPL has brought an ecosystem of broadcasters, players, and the individual country team together and created a platform by which newer and sharper players are coming, newer styles are coming, newer way of playing coming together because of the controlled manner in which they get tested, like an hackathon platform or this thing in a very short formats. You get tried and tested in a real life environment, and the different, because you learn from each other. Your learning is pretty diverse in nature. You measure constantly on a quantifiable manner. Otherwise, on a resume or interview basis, you don't know how to quantify your skill. But through this programming platform, you quantify the skill, you compare the skills, and reinvent yourself and try to solve it in a different manner. The IPL has changed the game of the cricket completely globally, and it has become largest platform. Similarly, the hackathon platform or coding platform is doing the same piece. They provide an ecosystem of bringing things together. They provide opportunity. They bring the competition spirit. They allow people to reinvent themselves. And when these skills, and they lose and they win, so they know how spirit of losing and spirit of winning and spirit of recovering, correct? So while it's programming, but every time they get ranked and they get passed or failed with certain score, they have to reinvent, they have to reflect on themselves. So this is a constant habit of learning, and reinventing is a byproduct of participating in these kind of platform, which makes them very good professional. And this techniques is proven in the sports area or any arts area where the competition leads to reinvention of the capabilities. And now we are mimicking this in our industry in a very scalable manner, technology-driven manner, correct? Unlike in sports and arts and other areas, the technology platform will become limitations to scale this thing. Now this provides a global platforms. All countries' talents can be participating together, and you see yourself where do you stand in a global era. So suddenly you know where you stand in a global arena. And of course, as a consumer of these talents, I think you always get best of breed thing with chosen. You throw your problems, your customer relevant problems, and get the best idea. So I think it's the best way to potentially, I would say, as of now, one of the best way to do your own career development, learn yourself, rank yourself, invent yourself, and do better from your competition. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think that that comparison that you were drawn with IPL is very contemporary and is very much relevant to what this entire fest is all about. And I'm sure it's happening at organization level. It's happening at a national level, and everybody's trying to work on that innovation that we're just talking about. So thank you so much for that, Hasit. I will now move to Rajneesh. So Rajneesh, when a hackathon or any adathon that we speak about is created has a purpose, right? How do you think crowdsourcing ideas through hackathons can be used to co-design new human-centric services that creates impact or is for any social being? We have seen so many hackathons and adathon, being worked upon for social well-being as well as for creating a certain impact. So how do you think crowdsourcing the ideas works?
Sure. Yeah, some of the new age themes or the new age needs, like I think my colleague mentioned about sustainability hackathon earlier. There is so much to be done in these areas, right? And when you do a hackathon on, let's say, sustainability, the ideas that you get are really, really surprisingly refreshing, right? So very, very new. So that really helps. That's number one. And you might have areas which you have never thought about, and you can start making a huge impact on both the inside the enterprise as well as outside the enterprise. That's number one. Second, I think hackathons can also be leveraged in terms of identifying what can be done for let's say an existing product or an existing process, right? So you have a product out there in the market, people who are using it, people who are leveraging it, not just the coders, but even others can come in based on their experience, share new improvements that needs to be done on that product, whether it is to improve customer experience, whether it is to improve the sustainability aspect of it, whether it is to improve, let's say, some of the reports or dashboards. If you take digital health for an example, you may be getting a lot of lab reports or personal health records, etc. But how can it be done better, right? So those ideas are great from a social purpose point of view. And sometimes this can be done in very different, even regions, you may get different results. Age groups, you may get different results. So you need to leverage that, right? So if you run an event like that in India, you may get a few ideas which are relevant to market in India, but if you do something in Australia, it will be very different, right? So that's a kind of benefit which is very specific to that particular geography, particular socio-economic culture that you can leverage. Third example I would call out is accessibility for a theme, right? So accessibility as a theme. You have a product and there may be a lot of challenges out there from an accessibility perspective. That's an area where I have seen a lot of new ideas coming in when you do events like hackathon, right? It could be any special needs like accessibility that can be very important for such events, bringing in social impact as well as benefiting the product or enterprises to make a change that is beneficial to the society.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh. I think you've given us three fantastic visions of why we are crowdsourcing ideas. Thank you so much for that. I will now move to Suhas. So Suhas, we have an machine learning hackathon challenge up for our participants this year at Code Gladiators 2022. I would want you to tell us that do you think these competitive programming is a new norm and this can be the future of hiring or acquiring developers at organizations?
Of course, right? And that's one of the reasons why we are sponsoring the hackathon. So if you want targeted talent, I think these hackathons are a great vehicle, and we will, and the industry will continue to use this as a vehicle to hire talent, right? Maybe there are two things. I'll just touch upon what Hasit mentioned, right? The IPL thing that really caught my attention. Maybe there are two things that we need to do as maybe Code Gladiators and all the platforms that run this competition. One is, how do we build trust in the result, right? For example, plagiarism, we had IPL when it was started, you know what happened, right? Money laundering, etc. So how do we build trust in the system, and how do we improve the evaluations and are consistent so that we get the right talent and the interview process becomes easy? So definitely, right, a great platform to hire. I think many panelists spoke about how we can engage talent, measure ourselves, fish in the pond, right? Excellent comments made. We will hire, and it will be a vehicle to hire going forward also. It is just that we may need to do two things. One is the sanity, trust in the platform, as well as scale, right? If you look at how many people are now participating in the hackathons, right, it is maybe less than 1% of the community, right? The community of engineers who can participate and get benefited. So we need to see how to scale as well as how to improve the trust. But it's a good hiring vehicle for sure.
So I think our developers are, actually going there. Organizations are going there. We are trying to evolve even the hiring process and looking at picking up talent. Yes, Rajesh, you have something to say. Please go ahead. Rajesh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So I think while we are talking about the developers and programming as such here, very, very impactful in that area, I wanted to add a few other areas, right? For example, data science, right? That's a huge topic where hackathons can make an impact. You may not be doing coding, but how can you leverage algorithms? And that's probably the future of some of this programming asset. Other one is no-code platforms, right? So where again, programming may be less, but using no-code platforms or probably like tools like UiPath in RPA, right? How can you come up with completely new areas which can be done? Less of programming, that's why I wanted to call out there are probably many other areas beyond programming we can leverage hackathons as well.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, for that. Yes, Mukesh, please.
Yeah. So I think Rajnish brought a very good point about sustainability, accessibility part and all. I think one of the things, if you notice, the Gen Z, one of the things, if you have done research on this, people are more connected to a purpose. And what could be a bigger purpose than the sustainability part? Definitely, that is very, very important. Accessibility also, right? At Microsoft, we used to have this mantra. We used to call it not accessibility for disability. Accessibility was, usability for everybody, including people with disability. I think those are some of the key elements where people get excited, and some of the ideas we get are really good. And we ran a hackathon recently with a combination of Millionaire Garage, which I have at Capgemini, which is primarily doing this, and some other universities we connected with. And we ran this hackathon for sustainability for Amazon delivery. And this hackathon, we won the first prize there. And imagine just fresh students working on a hackathon by Amazon, and we got the first prize primarily because we were able to showcase that ordering same day, ordering next day is a lot more damaging to the environment than ordering for 3 or 4 days later. Those things were there, and Amazon liked it as well. So some of those parts, again, fresh ideas and all can go a long way and then win some prizes also. And by the way, we are now embedding the solution in Capgemini and helping solve a lot of organizations in their sustainability journey as well. So I think some of those parts to the purpose also excites a lot of people, and hackathon we can get more ideas there. I just want to add to what Rajnish mentioned. Thanks, Rajnish, for bringing the topic.
Thanks, Mukesh. Yes, Corina.
Yeah, just to be sure. I think right now the hackathon is the most accessible and accepted way to invite the entire organization to be innovative. Like, it doesn't sound boring. It doesn't sound like much of structure, too many workshops, too much of a frame, too many decision making. Like, you put it there, you put some rules, you let people to have fun with it, and is the most acceptable, because we are also using it internally in UiPath. And this is what I see right now. Is the easiest way to invite everyone to be innovative.
Right, and I think when you add fun and you give that perspective of competition there, it gives you the right intent of bringing on people together, work on something new, and then set up the excitement and excitement, which has a purpose. Hackathons has purpose. Hackathons an objective of finding the right idea, maybe for a business problem, or maybe for a social impact that is created, or maybe when we talk about health tech, there are so many things that people are still working on. Health tech industry is like into there, looking at AI, looking at machine learning. How can we can solve problems at a level wherein human intervention is minimized, and we are trying to automate everything. So it's very interesting for us, for a platform like TechGig, to look at people, to see IT experts, IT domain people, organizations coming together, giving out their problems and finding out solutions through the ideas, with the common people out there, and setting up a competition for these people, wherein you have an intent of finding the right talent, finding the business problem. I think it's fantastic for us. It gives us a sort of an adrenaline rush here, that we see all of them coming together and working upon something. Yes, Sujay, you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to bring in startup kind of a culture in large organizations. So that's how I would
Right.
put it.
Right. So I had a superb time, communicating with each one of you. Suhas, do you have something to add here?
No, I just wanted, the whole industry is moving towards diversity. So one of the
Yes.
ways, right, hackathon can help you to become really a good diverse organization, right? Accept opinions and from everywhere.
Yeah. So I had a superb time communicating with all of you. This conversation has given me so much excitement about what is coming up next for our audience in the finale. But before we go back to the live event, to the main event here, I would want each one of you to give me the closing remarks and wish our finalists all the best and good luck for the results that we're about to declare. So Suhas, will begin with you. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, all the best. Keep participating in such hackathons, and as organizers, you please continue with this great initiative. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you, Suhas. Mukesh?
Yeah, I would advise all of them all the best, definitely, but also at the same time, this is the beginning, not the end of the career. This is starting point, and always remember, पूछने में क्या जाता है attitude, wherein you are open to always challenge and see if something works out for you. Definitely looking forward for that.
Thank you so much, Mukesh. Sujay?
So what I would say is that, I wish all the best to everyone, but don't worry about the competition. Let the most creative solution come out of you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sujay, for that. Hasit? You're on mute, Hasit. We cannot hear you. Yes.
All the best to everyone, and enjoy the journey of participation and execution. Win and loss and our ranking will keep happening, but enjoy the journey. All the best.
Thank you, Hasit. Corina?
Thank you, everyone, for showing your ideas. It's impressive to see your ideas. Keep yourself in the driver's seat. You belong there, even if you are the winner, even if you are not. Do that. Continue to do that, because you are starting and continuing a movement into the business space, into the technology space with what you're doing there. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Corina. Rajneesh?
Yeah, so thank you to the participants and people who are contributing here, because it's a great forum for all of us to learn from you. And I hope you continue to learn as well in this process and enjoy this process. And at the same time, for the industry, I think this is going to be not, as I think one of you mentioned, this is just the start of such events, right? So there are a lot of them that will continue to be here. And I hope the industry starts benefiting more and more from these events as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh. So, I'm really grateful for this entire conversation, and thank you for sharing all those insights that you have shared with us and our audience today. I'm sure we're taking home so many learnings from each one of you, and I had a superb time, as I mentioned earlier. Thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Before we sign off and wrap up this conversation, can we please have a cheers for our participants, telling them that we are here, all the very best for, the finale and the results that we are actually giving out, right? Thank you so much for being here. This calls for a wrap. Thank you so much once again. We will now head towards the live event and see what's happening there and what's next. Thank you. What a superb conversation starter. Moving on to the next segment, ladies and gentlemen. Diversity is rising at tech companies. But there's always room for improvement. While we make efforts to overcome the challenges of diversity in our own ways, the scope of change is inevitable. But why does this change matter? Our next guest, in her current role at Publicis Sapient, focuses on enhancing and reinforcing the brand's unique position, as well as its strong values and culture with its stakeholders in the industry, including employees and current and future clients. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to bring you this overwhelming conversation with Ms. Roma Navani Sachadev, the Vice President for Marketing at Publicis Sapient, India. Hi Roma, thank you so much for being a part of the grand finale of Code Gladiators 2022, and I'm sure you were also excited as much as we are. And to start our conversation with, I would want to actually understand and know that how excited you are, and also please introduce yourself to our audience and let us know that how excited you are for Code Gladiators finale today.
Sukriti, any event with it brings in so many butterflies. And while I'm here with you speaking and discussing and talking, I can feel the excitement. This is so awesome. Being virtual, I can feel your energy. And everyone here watching Code Gladiators, do know that Sukriti and her team are doing an amazing job of getting this here. I'm so happy to be on this platform with all of you, talking, chatting, and waiting to hear your comments and everything that comes along with it. I am Roma Navani Sachadev, and I'm VP Marketing for Publicis Sapient in India. I'm extremely passionate about helping diverse groups, driving inclusion in organizations, and also making sure that it's a safe working place for everyone to come in. So really looking forward, Sukriti, to this conversation with you today.
I am so excited, Roma, because diversity and inclusion, these are two elements that I think everybody is trying to work upon. And we wanted to talk about this because I think the tech professionals, the tech industry wherein we actually try and address this, faces the most I think the scarcity of women being here and diversity being addressed. So I'm looking forward to the insights that you're going to share with us today, and anything and everything that you're going to talk about diversity and change and how actually it matters for all of us today. No matter tech industry or whatever industry we'd be addressing, but diversity and inclusion are two things that the entire world is trying to actually work upon. So let's go ahead. I will shoot my questions to you, and I'm excited to know the answers. All right, Roma. So tell me, why do you think that more and more businesses from the top levels of leadership, because that's exactly where we see the more scarcity of professionals there, are broadening their business outcomes beyond the profits and putting an emphasis on diversity and inclusion altogether?
Yeah. Sukriti, it's such an important conversation today. So if you pull back from it and you look at where the world is at today, right? If you think about the world, so many of you would have heard the term VUCA, right? Which is how volatile is the world, right? And the last 2 years have shown us that even more, and we've all experienced it, right? Pandemic, we all experienced how change is, what does it mean? What does volatility really mean? So if you think about that as one starting point of our world, of our life, of our space to be in, then you think about businesses, right? All the businesses through this time have looked through how can they be more successful, how can they be more resilient, and in that what comes very important too is how do you reimagine these businesses, right? So as we navigate all of this ambiguity, volatility of the world, then you look at what does transformation really mean in all of this, and therefore technology, and what does reimagining, right? If you look at most of the businesses, it's very important, like at Publicis Sapient, what we do is we help our clients be more successful in this world by helping them transform, right, digitally. And when we do that, we start to look at tech as a lot of core of what we do, yeah. And then as you navigate through customer markets, as you navigate through regulatory environments which are changing, as well as if you look through how workforce is changing. So when all of this comes together, we start to look at what does the next look like, right? And when you think about the next, there is always a conversation about what is the new normal, right? And moment you think about that, you say these are such diametrically opposite because it's always the next, right? How do you come to that part of it? In Publicis Sapient, we think about bringing to life through our speed framework, which is strategy, product, engineering, experience, and data, right? When you bring all of this together, you help clients transform, right? That's why we say we are a digital business transformation organization. And to do that, you need a lot of diversity, correct? Without a diverse workforce, it's not really possible to drive change, to look at what next is. And in that frame, if you think about diversity of perspective is the most important thing to bring to life, right? And that's what organizations look at. And that's what I think for Publicis Sapient, it is one of the most important things for us to stand behind, which is how do we bring in diversity of perspectives? To do that, you have women diversity, you have different communities, you have people with disability, you have LGBTQI, you have minorities. All of this forms what bring to what can be a diverse perspective, right? So I hope this helps you understand what would it mean for businesses to focus on for today's world, and how does diversity and inclusion play such a critical role in bringing that to fore.
Absolutely, Roma, and I completely agree with you that we have started. It's like a WIP, work in progress for organizations these days. We are trying to make so much effort to bring diversity and inclusion, as you mentioned. It's not just women's participation. It's about addressing all the cadres that exist, be it LGBTQ or be it the people with disability. And I think it's time that we address and we not just call it inclusion, but we actually term it as belonging there, right? We belong to a certain place. So talking about this, please help me understand that how diversity and belongingness actually makes any team in any organization more successful.
Yeah, I think such an important term, belongingness, right? Unless you don't belong, then you don't feel a part. So if you think about, we talked about the world is changing earlier, right? And we have all experienced it and felt it deeply in the last 2 years. At this point, if you look at the way the markets are very volatile, and so is talent. There is a high need of getting the right talent in the right place, right? And if you look at another trend that's happening during the pandemic, so many people went back home to different cities, to different towns, right? There was a huge movement there. How do you help all of that movement? People would want to stay there, and how do you make sure that all those people who have taken the decision to be where they are feel part, belong as a part of a community, right? That's a big challenge that most organizations today are dealing with, and that is a conversation that's key in organizations, right? At Publicis Sapient, when we talked about people are at the center of what we do, we make sure that there is what we brought out was flex work. And when you think about flex work, what we said was it's people's choice, right? That's what they've been exercising. How about if you help people think through that and make a choice for themselves to say, do you want to come back to the office? Do you want to come back at your own convenience? Do rotational, that some days it's good for me to work from office and some days it's not. I would want to work from home. For example, I'm in NCR region and I choose to go to office when I know there are important connections, networking, and I choose to work from home for my evening calls for my global role, right? So there is that mix. Or for people who are working from any city in India, they could work from anywhere they are. So there is all this flexibility which is built into the business model to help people first feel comfortable where they are. And then if you extend it to wherever I am, in whichever format of work that I choose, how do I feel a part of the community, right? That's very important. And as you take that conversation forward, we have something that we we feel very close to. It's called Business Resource Group, right? And these groups are around helping build communities. So, for example, we have one for women, which is called Viva, wherein women of different career stages or different needs come together to discuss their challenges, look at what's happening, or for people with disabilities, or people in LGBTQI, or caregivers, right? Or people generational. Each organization now has multiple generations working. So how do you bring all those perspectives? How do you do reverse mentoring, right? All of these drive a two-way conversation, which helps drive belongingness. Another good example of that is people are working from different cities, right? So many people work from different. So we have, for example, Hyderabad, Kolkata, any of those cities where there are people working, they come together, and we have something which we started, our business team started, which is called the PS Circle, where people come together not only to discuss work, but actually to discuss authentic stories. They bring together stories of who they are, what they're feeling in that moment, so that there is a connect which is beyond transactional, beyond work, beyond anything. So they feel part of that space. And the other thing is, if you think about diverse workforce, what is also important then too is to say, how do we bring an inclusive environment? That can happen. Diversity is one starting point, but to make that diversity actually function in a way where every single person who comes to the workplace feels a part of it. And that's again a part of belongingness. It's only not connections, but it's also how do I feel in that place, right? So inclusive mindset is one of the key things to make that happen. Does that mean that when I'm coming to work, is there a bias that's playing against me, right? How do we make people more sensitive to the diverse kind of community that is getting built today? Yeah. Also, during the pandemic, right in the middle of pandemic, we launched this program called Spring Returnees, wherein we had people who had been on a break. We encouraged women who were on a break to come back to, whether you were a manager or below, above. We encouraged women, whether they were 1 year out of work or 7 years out of work, to come back. Instead of train and hire, we hired and trained. We handheld them to go through that process. Right. So this is what I'm talking about. When you bring in diversity, you start to also think about how do you include, what are the needs, what are the challenges that people face as they join workforces which are diverse, right? Remember, I talked about BRGs, so many different kind of people. They come together. When they come together, how do they work? How do you create an environment of safety? How do you create an environment of inclusion? Are key things that businesses really need to invest in. And that's what we do at Publicis Sapient very well, wherein we drive sensitivity around this, where we drive awareness of this, of the different groups, their needs. And another thing, Sukriti, that happened, and I'm a big beneficiary of that. During our D&I program initiatives, one initiative was take the time out to discuss. Even a starting point was why pronouns? So we had teams just discussing that. So they could bring their thoughts, their challenges, their fears, listen and share. So I think this platform creation, where you can have a dialogue instead of just one-way communication, this community that we are creating, right, only goes forward to bring trust, respect, and therefore leads to belongingness, right? So that's from an individual perspective. And if you look at organization, if you just go a little wider and look at organization, there is an intentional journey for an organization, right? That really helps people come together to navigate this uncomfortable territory of doesn't look like me, doesn't feel like me. So what do I do? How do I do? So organizations have to make that push to drive that understanding so that belongingness can be felt by anyone and everyone in the organization.
Thank you, Ruma, for sharing these, activities and the set of, strategies that are in place in what is the CPIT altogether. It's very interesting that TechGig, we talk about technologies day in and day out. When we host an event, when we are speaking to technology leaders, when we come together for conversations, we talk about how technology is actually enabling all of us with our work, with our responsibilities, and how it's actually trying to minimize the responsibilities and the tasks that are in hand, and how it's enabling the whole process for us. And ironically, here we are talking about that human dialogue, which is at the same time parallelly, of utmost importance, and how critical this is for an ambience when it comes to working professionals, when it comes to creating the right workforce with the right mindset. And I'm sure this is like a two parallel lines running across functionalities that we're trying to address, no matter what industry we're talking about. So thank you so much for that. Last one here. Please share some tips that that organizations can actually think of and can incorporate for better diversity and inclusion, in their organization, and at least can think of it or strategize altogether.
So interesting point that you make. Before I go to tips, my take on the two parallel path is the last 2 years have shown us that people are at the center. Wherever you are, industry you are, our lives have changed dramatically, right? And whichever, like you mentioned, whichever industry you are in tech or you are wherever you are a person that is at the consciousness of the change, right? So lives are center, work is all around it, right? So people and their framing of life has changed. So then if you think about organizations, if you think about what are some of the things that organizations should look at to drive their diversity and inclusion agenda through this time of change, I would say, and I will talk about, and I think foundational stuff, most organizations definitely have to spend time behind. Some are doing it, some are at a higher maturity curve, some are starting the journey. But if you think about it, there are five odd things or six odd things that would come to play as you look at organizations becoming more diverse and actually driving the inclusivity agenda for most people, right? I think inclusive mindset for people with sapiens especially is a differentiator, and that is the hard work. When you in organizations or when initiatives are led, programs are created, the success of that is in the entire people population in that company to start to think, to include people of different kinds in their conversations, in their work, in their milieu, in the entire setup the way it is, right? So inclusion is huge. And when we were starting to work here in People is Sapient around inclusion, it started at the top. We came together and we said, okay, as a leadership team, where are we on our inclusion barometer? And all of us did. So if I ask you, are you inclusive? The answer is always, most people, it would be yes, right? Because we think of ourselves as inclusive. But when we looked through all that and we found what is our inclusive score? Where is the world at? There were a lot of surprises as well as aha moments to say, this is what inclusion is. Inclusion is not always to say that is there a common ground, but inclusion is also to look at differences and say, okay, we are okay with those differences, and let's now step forward, understanding each other, bringing in that understanding and not whitewashing everything in the same way. So we did that at the leadership level. We brought in sensitization around what does inclusion really mean, inclusive mindset in particular mean, so that when we bring in people from diverse backgrounds, when we bring in people from spaces which are different than what we look like, feel like, then there is a better understanding and a better belongingness to the point that we spoke about earlier in the organization. Also, I think what is really important is, Sukriti, that we start to create an ecosystem around it, right? One person, one organization driving the agenda will only work at a certain quantum. to accelerate, to do that, what Publicis Sapient we think about is how do you create this ecosystem? We work with our suppliers, we work with our ecosystem to make sure that there are these conversations, that they have practices and policies too. And the other is that we have some things at a very high maturity level. Then you start to think about, how do I pay it forward? How do you make sure that your best practices are shared across in the world in a way, right? And this is one such platform for us to do so. So we work with the clients, we work with different organizations like Hunsaker organization or MIST organization or TREAT or any of these, and I think, Gift Tables, that was a great organization we worked with to share what we have received and to make sure that there is a lot of understanding of what we do and what we take to the world. So I think this creating of this environment, creating of giving back, paying it forward is a great way for us to take our practices and share our practices in the world to create this environment. Now, if you think about these practices as unique practices, the others are more foundational. What are the systems? What are the processes? We talked about legal systems are changing, right? So how do you think about that in this world of tech? How does, GDPR, everything, it's not only now to Europe, so many people across the world are talking about that, right? So how do you make sure there is an understanding of that, right? So foundations of systems, of processes, of bringing in understanding of different groups, all of this needs to be done. And on the higher level of bringing in conversations and around inclusive mindset, and also the shift from being not only equal, but to drive a conversation around equitable. So I think all of these things are for organizations to look at, to think about, and for definitely, and I think that is core of what we do. We recently, Sukriti talked about people. People are individuals, people as people and not labels, right? So I would love to leave you and everyone here at Code Gladiators with this thought that when you think about people, they are people at the core. There are differences. Accepting of that differences is how we will make progress. And definitely, Sukriti, do share with the team here about people, and they're not labels.
Thank you so much, Roma. I think I had a great time with this conversation that I had with you. The elements, the tips, and the whole foundation that we've spoken of, diversity and inclusion, we will impart a lot of awareness to our audience tonight. So thank you so much for being here with us at the grand finale of Code Gladiators 2022, Roma. We will now move to the live event after this video that Roma is actually talking about, and she would want all of us to see.
Chowmin. Momos.
Chakka.
50-50. ये सिग्नल वाले ऑफिस में काम करेंगे?
That's a long gap in your resume. Incompetent.
Kalui.
Mr. Dictator.
This is the big boys club. ये क्या काम करेगा? अपाहिज.
Does the color of my skin decide how much respect I deserve? I'm tired of being treated like a second-class citizen in my own country.
My sexuality, how I choose to express it, is my business. You can only see my professional success, not my constant battle with anxiety and stress.
I'm educated, smart, and contributing to the society.
But all you care about is my gender?
Why does my last name have to decide my profession?
I took a break in my career, not a break from my dreams and my abilities.
I wish for a world where people are defined by their abilities.
I deserve better. I deserve to have dignity.
I am unique.
I matter.
Just like you.
Just like you.
Just like you. Just like you.
Ms. Sachdev has brilliantly put together the forces we need to drive diversity in this tech industry. Thank you so much for that. Hopping on to the next section now. Companies with a developer-first approach paint this landscape of opportunities for developers. Tonight, we bring you conversation straight from the biggest industry players. Let's take a look at how industry software developers can future-proof their skills and stay valuable in a constantly changing environment. Folks, I am here with 4 eminent names from the tech industry who is working into the developer relations and helping you techies stay updated and relevant in the tech market. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to have KK Ghan, who is the lead evangelist, APAC Twilio, Raymond Camden, senior developer evangelist, Adobe, Daniel Myers, developer relations, Snowflake, and Raghuraman Bharatalwar, VP of Network and Edge Group, Intel. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. And before we kickstart and before we go on to our questions and insights that you're here to discuss, please tell me how excited you are to be a part of the Code Gladiators 2022 Grand Finale. So Daniel, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, really excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me, Al. It's always great to see the great things that developers create, and it's going to be exciting to see that.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Let's go to KK.
Hi everyone, this is KK. I'm so excited to be here today. Together with other panelists here, I'm very excited and can't wait to have the discussion and share and also learn from others as well.
Thank you, KK. Raghu?
Hey, hi again. Thank you for the opportunity, and it's very exciting, to be, back along with the developers community to share and learn from them. So, and thank you for other panelists also joining, and we'll have an exciting conversation I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghu. Raymond?
Thank you so much for having me here. As a developer, anything that makes my life easier makes me happy. So if I can make other people happy, I think that's great.
Lovely. That's exactly what we're here for. That's exactly why we're having this conversation in an event like this. So let's get started. I cannot actually wait for each one of you to share your experiences and your learnings and how that can be a very, very important aspect for our developer community also to learn from each one of you. So let's begin. Okay, so to start with, let's talk about the basics. What is the developer-first approach, and how do you think the developer-first companies ensure to have consistent engagements with the developer community, and what are the elements that you look at while you're trying to strategize this entire developer relationship that you built with? So Raymond, let's begin with you.
Yeah, so I think it's really obvious when I am looking for a solution. I know there'll be 5 to 10 solutions for everything I want to do. That's just the way the internet is now. But it's really obvious and really quickly obvious the companies that give a darn about the developer experience. I know I can solve any problem at all. There's a library, there's a service, there's a framework out there. But some things will be very painful to use. Some things I will hate to use. I'll hate my job. I'll hate everything about it. And some things I will just love to use. And that is always the company or organization, whatever, that actually cares about how easy it is for me to use a product. And that comes across in everything from just even how you sign up for it. to documentation, to getting that first win. When a company cares about that, a developer notices immediately, and they will care a lot about it, to the point where comparing a free solution to one that may cost a bit more money, if the one that costs a bit more money is actually easier to use, I will spend that money.
Thank you so much, Raymond, for that. Raghu, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think Raymond covered pretty good with respect to the experience, right? The user experience and the developer experience. So I want to add on top of it, right? What Raymond talked about. I think for me, as a developer and now as a technical lead here in Intel, the API first approach is the primitive of the developer. That means your product should be speaking with an exposure of interface. Your users are your API, how you can easily use it. So I see around 3 primitives around that, right? How you can design your API. Your API is the first user interface for your product or your application. So design for that. Once your primitives are set properly, then your implementation follows the APIs, not the reverse of it. So I think that should be the design principle around it. And then on top of it, what Raymond said, it should be self-descriptive. And then the documentation and how to use that API with the flow should be so simple enough, so that the scalability of adoption of your API, and how they can make use of that API for their own innovation, the developer community, you keep it open for the innovation to the open world. I think the adding on top of it is API first approach is the key primitive for it. Yeah.
Thanks, Raghu. KK.
Yeah, thanks both Raymond and Raghu for sharing, the view on both, the developer first approach and API centric. The way I look at it, for me to answer the questions, what is developer first approach? I think we will need to try to understand why developer first. So if you look at it, we are living in the era where software technology touch our life constantly. From the moment we woke up and we go to work, we hit the hay, right? And because of this, business also relies a lot on the software technology to provide better services and keep in touch with the customers. So this really rely a lot on developers, because developers are the group of people who actually help the company to build solutions where it helps the company, the businesses to stay competitive, to win in the marketplace. So then, because of this, we start to look at how, we lead to the questions such as how productive or effective or innovative our developer teams are, right? Are they stay productive? So by looking from that angle, we start to realize, based on my recent webinar with TechGig, I actually shared like developer actually spend about 70% of their time doing things that are not related to coding, more like scalability, looking at the infrastructure, deployment, scalable deployment, and so on. So the remaining 30%, maybe 5% out of the 30%, only they spend on the coding. So the question is, why developer first approach? Because developers are the key asset to the company, where it helps us to keep us motivated, competitive, stay competitive and win in the marketplace, right? And we need to really address and look at what kind of challenge and how to help the developer team to stay focused on coding, then thinking or spend time on things that is not relevant. And by looking at the ecosystem today, help the developer not to reinvent the wheel. By looking at the software development, we look at a lot of time, are we working on something that is productive or something that is not relevant? So that is why I think why developer first approach is important. And what is the developer first approach? Basically, to summarize, I think to help developers stay focused on coding, and so that they do not reinvent the wheel. Yeah.
So again, help me understand, how do you look at the consistent engagement when it comes to these solutions? You particularly mentioned about the approach, but how do you look at consistently engaging with the developer community?
Yeah, so I think from what we are doing here in Trivedi, we have a special team of so-called task force who is working closely with the developers communities. So the activities that we do today, if you look at it, like we host developer community events, we support by sponsor, or we support by, spending our time with the developers community to share some of the knowledge or technologies that we know and we learn about. Yeah? And then, of course, to also participate in some of the developers, I mean, as many as possible, the developers related activities. So these activities that I am doing today, like for example, user group or meetup group, right? And then it's so-called like webinars or seminars, any opportunity for us to be with the developer, to listen to the developers on what they're doing, what kind of challenges they have, and also looking for opportunity like how to work closely with developers. So that is the strategy we have in Trivedi actually. Yeah.
Thanks, KK, for that. Daniel, I'll move to you. Help me understand about, of course, the approach, the developer-first approach that we're talking about. And being one of the evangelists, of course, you can help us also understand about the strategies. So please go ahead.
Absolutely. So definitely, agree with what Raymond, Raghu, KK said. And just to add on that, I think, when you look at a developer-first mentality through the lens of adoption, right, of your product, really, in my opinion, what that means is, you are prioritizing and thinking about the success of the adoption of your product depends on developers, right? And so when you think of it that way, it's very similar to, customer focused mentality of a business, right? But in this case, the primary customer that you're targeting and the primary user of your product is the developer, right? And so everything that goes around that is what you look at when developing your product, right? The ease of use for developers to extend your product through APIs that you're building, right? What hooks are you providing developers? What sample code are you providing your developers? Everything that goes around enabling the success of the developer on your product is what goes with the developer first mentality. And it's really a conscious business decision to be developer first. And it really, through the lens of adoption, is one of the ways that you make that decision.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for that. I think that really sums up for us that what the entire approach is and how you people, being the experts here, strategize this entire thing for our developer community or in developer community that you're working with. Daniel, to continue with this, tell us about the entire API first design methodology. How is it so powerful, and how it is, sort of a weapon that you are out with looking for what you want, and how you're looking at the kind of innovation from the developer community?
Yeah, absolutely. I really like how Raghu, said it's a primitive of a developer first mentality. I think that's a great way to frame it. And some of the benefits of a API first, and the importance of API is that the API is the literal contract between what you're building and other teams within your organization or company. It's also the literal contract between you and your developers that are building on your product. And so when you have a tangible programmable contract like a REST API that you can define and share with others, you can start to build on top of that and really instill some kind of core metrics around that contract, right? So you can really get granular on, hey, here's the SLA for service level agreement for how fast it should respond, or how much uptime we should have on this specific API endpoint. It also, being an API first, or one of the elements that you develop against, is it helps to, from a architectural standpoint, within your application, to kind of define different segments of your application that can scale independently, right? And so you can get better metrics on your product, on, hey, here's the important pieces of my product that external developers are using a lot, and can help steer the roadmap of your product later. And it's also a good way to to point to your users, in many cases, in our cases, the developers using these APIs, of saying, hey, for this API, is the return object that you're getting, basically for product feedback. It's a good way to have a well-structured, defined product feedback in certain areas of your product. So I think that the key takeaway here is definitely it's a primitive. I love the way that Raghu framed that. That's great, of a developer first mentality, and it's something that really helps the success and growth of a developer first product.
Thank you, Daniel. I think the entire frame that you've put up for us is really important, and it is something that we as community also look up to. Our kind of product engagement that you bring in, and how interesting or how innovative it is, right? So thank you so much for that. I will now move to KK. KK, how do you think the API first approach has grown in the software industry? Because there was this time nobody was even talking about developers relationship altogether, and this has really come up, I think, in the past 5 years. This has really come up as a topic that people have at least started having conversations around, and maybe this might be happening overseas, but especially in India, when I say this is hardly being talked about right now as well. So how do you think this has evolved altogether, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like this is instead of saying this is a trend out there, you said there is really a need where for most of the businesses to look into API first. And reason being, if you look at how technology evolved today, we pretty much need to call external API most of the time for any application we develop. For instance, we call weather, we try to get a weather data by calling weather API. We try to get a list of cities by calling cities in a country by calling the city list API, for example. Or if you need something like to find out the exchange rate, for instance, you call the exchange rate API. No one is looking at creating everything or maintaining everything by themselves. It's going to be very costly to do that, and in fact, it's not ideal to do that. And this, I would say, is thanks to the maturity of the microservices technology today, right? We talk about cloud-native microservices, and it has come to a level of maturity where it is so ready that even many of the companies out there, they are focused to just build API to support other business solutions. Instead of to provide entire solution, they provide something, the element or key component that is needed by every single software solutions. So one example I can share, like for instance, for any solutions that we try to build, for sure we will need identity management. For sure we will need authentications, authorizations. So is anyone day to day try to build that themselves? No, we just call the API, available solution, microservices that is so focused and provides such a good and complete set of functionality surrounding the identity management, right? If you look at, okay, maybe ask the questions such as, for every solution application we build, for sure we will need to send email notification, for instance. So are we, because of the need to send email and with the need to maintain the SMTP servers ourselves, might not be, right? No one do that, and we just call the email API. For any application we build, there is a need for us to provide a better engagement with our customer, a bridge to bring together the users and the systems. So that is what we are expert in Twilio, customer engagement. So don't tell me that, in order to send SMS, you will need to set up your own SMS gateway with the telco, right? You don't do that. You just seek for what are the API that supports this type of functions. So that really helped us by reducing the cost, the effort, and keep us focused on addressing the business solution rather than reinventing the wheel to do all the things that other people have been doing good. So to answer the question why API first approach has grown so much in the software industry is because I would say the majority of the microservices today is really helps a push and a motivation to go API first. And of course, it's also like what I shared earlier, because there's really a need for us to do that. I still remember one of my recent webinar that I shared at Philippines FEU student chapter. I talk about all about API. So there is one interesting data, I think it's by Slash data, to look at how many developers out there are using API. So the data shows that about 90% of developers are using API in all their their coding. But to me, the way I look at it, it should be higher actually. You can think of any solution or application you develop, chances are you need to call the API, unless you are looking at things like maybe a simple console application where you provide a simple function. If you are talking about web application itself, a web application itself for the users to visit a website is already an API, right? So the statistic result shows that out of the 90% of the API that we use, right, 70% are actually consuming or calling the API of third party, what we call the third party API. And the remaining 20% of the API related works are internally built or built in-house kind of API. So by looking at this statistic data, right, the survey itself, we can tell the API approach is so important, and that is why it has grown so much in the software industry, because of the need that each of us, when we do coding, we need the API, right? So API is not just about exchanging data, but you need to look at even in-house applications. For instance, you develop, chances are other applications will need to call your API, which it provides certain function to simplify or to reduce the effort that other people might need if they have to create from scratch. So that, I hope will help to better understand why the API first approach has grown so much in the software industry. So that is from my side.
Absolutely, KK, and I'm sure you've given us a handful of stats to basically understand the entire usage of API and how developers are actually looking at it. So thank you so much for that. Raghu, I'm going to move to you. Tell me, you are one of the techies here, and you look at things differently from when it comes to developing the relationship with the developers here. You tell me, how can developers stay relevant in the software industry at this point in time? Because here we are talking about the products that you're looking at being used by the developers. So let's talk about a little skilling and what's in demand, what the industry is looking at altogether. Please help us understand.
Excellent question. Actually, I think we see a paradigm shift for last, I would say, maybe 2 decades, or even now this decade is changing very dramatically, right? Previously our developer community is more traditional. When I say traditional, is more tied end to end, a monolithic block, right? End to end, the complete functionality is written by a company or maybe a couple of companies working together to realize the solutions. And so the traditional development and traditional monolithic single or maybe couple of multi-system solutions, bringing the solutions, and then more towards fixed function, right? Fixed function and rule-based, those are all the traditional, I call, still some industries still works on that, but the most of the community moving away from this traditional approach, more towards very high degree of abstraction. Okay, abstracting the whole complexity of your hardware or an operating system or a language, moving towards more modern software paradigms, which we talked about, right? The microservices, containers, and thinking about deployment. I think KK said very well actually, which is the developers previously we worried about more about 70% of coding and then 30, maybe 10, 20% more towards how my deployment is going to look like. But we see a paradigm shift, like more like, hey, how I am exposing my product as a service, and how this service can be consumed by many. And that comes with a deployment model, right? The scaling model comes, first before coding, right? And then obviously moving away from this, I've written the code more for a fixed versus it can evolve. And this is where we see the trend of, adoption of artificial intelligence and machine learning approaches, where the model behaviors, right? The data-based model behaviors are getting more and more opening up the coding, the way we approach the solution, and then the way that we end up doing the code. So in a nutshell, I think, we are breaking this, and that is excellent, I would say a world is getting created for the developer community coming together and, helping each other to produce their vision of a solution or a product in a faster fashion, right? So that's the trend I see coming, and that's how the developers are, more and more catching up, or actually they are evolving the trend, by the way, right? So and with that, I think there are, I would say maybe, I've seen, in addition to what I mentioned about, it's about key things is it's a customer outcome driven development. Previously we have seen more, our roadmaps are more feature developed. Okay, have I developed a feature? Rather today the approach is more towards, is this a feature that I will expose my customer value? It's more about outcome driven development, okay, which is, we see that trend more coming. That means small blocks, but it gives you the customer value. I talked about the modern programming languages, right? How do we abstract it? And then more bulky code versus, a monolith, simple blocks of code, which can be maintained simply, and then abstract this whole things. And then the paradigms, I talked about the containers and services and deployment. The most and also the acceptance of AI ML in your development cycle, okay, for your triaging, or your test case, smart testing. So adopting the AML techniques in your development, not only for customer usages, and faster release cycle. When during the days of the developer back, a decade back, we always talk about code check-in done, right? Now this is more about, it is more about continuous integration, continuous deployment and delivery, right? So it's the complete life cycle is looked into it as one cycle. The developer is looped into the whole cycle, and it doesn't end with the design and the coding, right? And that is also how fast this release cycle can be made. I think those are all the trends, and I think the developer community more, they are aware of this changes and contributing to these changes and innovating these changes. I think the innovation is going to be more faster for the consumers.
Yeah,
Thank you
Raghu,
so
I
much,
think
Shivanna.
thanks for sharing that. I think one of the points I would like to add on that you shared about, today, the way the developer works compared to in the past is really a big change itself. Looking at the monolithic kind of application development, developer tend, in the past, like work on their own and to solve a problem. But because of the change of the cloud native or microservices, you're no longer working by yourself. You need to be, to be aware of what is available out there in order to, make sure you spend the time where it's worth that you spend. And I mean to be more, stay relevant in the software industry for developers. I think that is why I think many companies start to realize, and many developers start to realize, not just working on your own, just go out and be in the developer community to learn what other people have been doing, and and also to share and to learn. I think that really helps the developer to stay relevant. Yeah.
Thank you, Raghu, and thanks, KK, for adding on to those little bit of insights that you think is more relevant. Thank you, and I will now move to Raymond. Raymond, you being the senior developer evangelist here, help me understand how can organizations embrace API-first approach to empower developers. So far, we've been speaking about the whole method and how we do it. Any tips, tricks that you think can be implemented? Because as I was speaking to KK, that we're still having these conversations. We just started having these conversations, and we are not yet there to start the implementation of these things, how it's done, how it's even talked about, I should say. So help us understand how actually organizations can look at this.
Absolutely, and I want to touch on something KK mentioned, the survey where it said 90% of developers are using APIs. I would bet of that 10%, there's a sizable portion of that are using APIs and may not realize, things may be so normal now that they may not even realize when they're making use of an API. In terms of, how an organization can have an API first mentality, think about the API as your product. So, somebody mentioned the weather API, the weather information, the forecast is data, that's whatever. The developer is going to be using your API. You can absolutely begin your planning, begin your development at that API level and not even worry about the data. Worry about that later. During your testing, you can have people try to use the API, return fake static information, but just look at what they have to do to make use of your API. Are you asking them to go through a bunch of hard steps just to get that final result? Or, as you see people use it, are there things that you see that you could simplify to make that experience easier? What I touched on earlier, like if I'm looking for weather, I know there's going to be 100 solutions out there. I'm going to gravitate to the one that's easiest to use. You're all given the exact same forecast, hopefully, for my particular city. What is going to be different is how I actually use the product. So again, if I was building that service, I would absolutely begin planning that particular API and not even worry about the data until you know that it's going to be something that will be easy to use.
Thank you so much, Raymond. And I never thought that I'll have this conversation, which will bring in so many elements for all of us to actually discuss and call out and actually highlight. So thank you so much. I mean, Raymond, KK, Daniel, Raghu, I had a wonderful time actually discussing the basics elements, because it's very important to address the basics before we actually advance onto any levels and start the execution even. So in terms of the strategies that we are talking about, in terms of the whole understanding that we need to have, I think we're still not there and we've just started. And we, TechGig, as a developer community, we every year, this is an annual event for us, Code Gladiators. Next year, we will have our 10th edition, the decadal edition next year that will be hosting, and it's going to be much, much more bigger than what it is this year. But we've always looked upon innovation, and we've helped organizations and the developer community to come together, work upon it, and bring out the better in what we are doing. And of course, technology is advancing every day. Every day we come to hear new about AI, ML, data analysis, big data, you name it, cloud. I have something or the other that has come up in the market. So it's an evolving process that all of us are part of. And you as experts here, I'm sure, you guys are also working constantly upon the engagement and how you can actually drive the right innovation and the usage altogether. So once again, thank you so much. I'm grateful for this entire conversation that I had with you. Before we sign off, before we wrap up this entire conversation, please give me the closing remarks, and please ensure that you wish our finalists all the best, because we are about to declare the results of our finale tonight. So just go ahead. Let's begin. Let's begin with you, KK.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was on. Yeah, well, I mean, it was a great sessions. Having a discussion around developer first, API first, and it's really great to to learn from everyone here in the room.
Thank you, KK. Raghu.
Hey, thank you, the panelists and Sukriti. A wonderful session, and all the best for the finalists, and good luck, and all the participants. You are winners. You are the gladiators. Taking the first step in participation. So winning comes, as part of it. So, and special congratulations for the finalists and the winners for it, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Raghu. Daniel.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have this conversation with everybody here. Thank you for the invite. Good luck to all of the participants and the finalists. I mean, it's going to be awesome, and looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Raymond?
Thank you again for inviting me. This was a really great conversation, and good luck to all of y'all.
Thank you so much, Raymond, once again. I'm sure our audience is going to take home so many highlights and so many important things that we've talked about today. So thank you so much once again. Before we wrap up and move to our live event and see what's happening there, let's give a thumbs up to our audience, wishing them good luck. Let's do this for them, and we'll have our wishes sent to the finalists. So thank you so much once again. This calls for a wrap. Let's go and check out what's going on in the live event there and what's coming next. Thank you so much once again, gentlemen. Wasn't that a splendid conversation? Our next and the last segment, ladies and gentlemen, is something that offers learning in the most disruptive way. It's time for a special showcase of the evening. It's time to welcome the leaders who've made it up to the unicorn list. Our first speaker is a serial tech entrepreneur and investor who likes creating and investing in innovative products that engage millions of users. He's a master's in computer science from MIT and a bachelor's in computer science from IIT Bombay, where he was awarded the silver medal. He's currently leading a conversational engagement platform, Gupshup, that helps businesses engage their customers better through personalized conversational experiences. The company operates in 40+ countries, has over 45,000 customers, and delivers 9 billion messages every month. Please welcome Birut Seth, co-founder and CEO, Gupshup.
Thanks, Sukriti. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be here at the finale of the TechGig event. And, I love talking to aspiring entrepreneurs, to techies. It's really, I benefited a lot from people who helped me, who were ahead of me. And, I think it gives me great gratification in being able to do the same and pay it forward and so on. So let me share a little bit about, what I do, my entrepreneurial journey, and some lessons I've learned from it. And hopefully, some of you can use it in your journey as well, right? So firstly, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Gupshup. Gupshup is a conversational engagement platform. We help businesses engage their consumers through messaging and chat, so that, for example, consumers can chat with businesses just as easily as chatting with friends or family, right? And could be through WhatsApp, could be through SMS, could be even through voice and other channels. And it's driving a huge transformation in how businesses, interact with consumers. Anyway, so I've been, my entrepreneurial journey runs across primarily 2 companies that I founded. The first one was called Elance, now called Upwork, which is a public company already. And then second one is Gupshup. So let me just give you a little bit of my journey, and then we'll talk about, some of the lessons that I've had going through that, right? So, I grew up in Mumbai, sort of average middle-class family. I grew up in Borivali, if you know where that is, in North Mumbai. And then after college, for college, I went to IIT Bombay. I studied computer science at IIT, and then also for grad school at MIT. I was blessed with a sort of an exceptional academic career. I loved puzzles and problem solving and math and then computer science, and a lot of it just came naturally. So enjoyed doing that. And then after my grad school at MIT, in fact, I was in the PhD program, but I was pretty sure I didn't want to be an academic, become a professor. So I said I was more inclined towards business and entrepreneurship, right? But I didn't have enough of, I mean, I was, of course, very strong in tech, but I didn't have any of the other experiences. So I had a short stint on Wall Street. I worked there for about 5 years, initially, building the technical models and software for analyzing securities, and later I started trading them myself as well. It was a bit of a crash course in business, right? Negotiating, selling, structuring, financial engineering, and so on. I think that was very interesting. But meanwhile, the internet happened. This was in the mid 90s, where the web and then the Netscape IPO and Amazon and eBay and a whole bunch of companies were being born. And I was like, what am I doing on Wall Street? So even if, the pay, the salary was great, but I was like, when I'm, old and on my deathbed, what am I going to tell my grandkids if they ask me, what were you doing when the internet happened, right? So I was like, okay, got to go and do something. No, jokes apart, I was always, I wanted to get back to the intersection of technology and business, right? Because I think tech is a powerful driver for building innovative new businesses and so on. So anyway, at that point, I started Elance, which pioneered online freelancing and the gig economy. Think about it, right? Just I'd barely gotten my green card, had very little money, and had no or very little management experience. But I used, a lot of IIT alumni friends and contacts, and I reached out to about 4 or 5 of them, each of whom brought in another 2 or 3 investors each. Anyway, we got started. We raised an angel round, created a prototype product, then actually did a $12 million round with Kleiner Perkins, another $50 million round. And it was all going great when suddenly sort of the dot-com bubble burst, which created a whole lot of challenges. We had to let some people go. We had to change the strategy a little bit and shift focus from a B2C model to a B2B model. And anyway, we were going through a lot of that. We were able to stabilize and turn around the business a little bit. And then at that time, it was going in a sort of, it was focused more on enterprises. I wanted to try something new and different. So, I sort of I left my operating role at Elance, but I continued on the board for many more years, right? And that's when I sort of started Gupshup. Gupshup again, sort of the key idea was the mobile revolution was happening, and the best way to reach billions of new users was through SMS and messaging. So we, built out a service. Initially, it was a consumer-focused service that didn't, that worked very well, but it was too expensive. So then we had to change it again to enterprise focus, and then had a lot of challenges through that. It was quite a roller coaster ride, but luckily, fortunately, the enterprise business grew steadily, and we saw and anticipated a lot of changes where traditionally it was all SMS, but then WhatsApp became a powerful new channel for business messaging, right? Not just consumer messaging. So we were prepared for that. We innovated new products and solutions, and then it started growing tremendously. About a year and a half ago, we did a big funding round. We raised about $340 million, and since then we've acquired a few companies, and there's been a lot of growth. So anyway, that's sort of been my entrepreneurial journey in short. But I figured, instead of just giving you the anecdotes, let me try and share some lessons that you can use, in your respective journeys as well. That could be more meaningful and useful, right? So I think, for example, right in the beginning, when I was a techie, probably just like you, but no business experience, right? So as I mentioned, I sought out a different kind of job that was completely outside my comfort zone, right? Went and worked on Wall Street in that case. But whatever it is, if you can, find opportunities to learn and augment the skills that you do not have, right? I think that can be useful. Another challenge I had then was, I had no money of my own, right? As an immigrant in the US, barely been there a few years, but money is not everything. The networks, the relationships that you have can be equally valuable and powerful, right? So in my case, it was people I went to school with or people who knew me, because ultimately at early stage, nobody's investing in the idea. They're investing in you, right? In the team and the people. And if there's that trust and confidence, then it works, right? So in my case, it was my IITB friends and alums who were then able to bring in their business relationships and so on, right? Another challenge I had is, to build a business requires so many different skills and so much different knowledge. And I had no experience in any of the non-technical fields like legal and accounting and marketing, strategy, sales, support, product, you name it, right? And I think that requires you to be, or required me to be a very quick learner, right? You're always, one approach I like is to be humble and hungry, right? So think about it, right? It's easy for, it would have been easy for me to be arrogant about like, oh, I've had the best grades and the best ranks, and therefore I'm good at tech, right? And that may be true, but that doesn't mean anything when it comes to all these other fields, right? So you need to have that ability, right? That humility to be able to start from scratch and learn a new field entirely, right? Like being a child, being a learner when faced with sort of new fields and so on. So I think that was another important lesson, for me. And to this day, right, I'm always eager to learn things. There's so much, the more you know, the more you realize that the less or the more there is to know, kind of thing. Another was I had no management experience early in my career. Now, fortunately, over the years, I've developed a lot of it. But at that time, I got mentors. I would listen and learn. I surrounded myself with people who have solved the kind of problems that I need to solve, right? And in some cases, I had to, like at Elance, I even had to hire a senior exec, in fact, a CEO, and give up that role for them. And I was like, look, whatever is good for the company, I'm willing to do. And that's fine, right? When we experienced market crashes, and I've experienced, like 2001, 2008, and even smaller ones in between, right now is another such sort of volatile market environment, right? And at various times, right, back then we had to lay off people, we had to change strategy, we had to hunker down for a long push. And, to me, one of the essential lessons was like really just having a lot of grit and perseverance, right? Because, in some sense, when you had a lot of academic success, you might think that, oh, whatever you do, you'll succeed at, right? But real life is so different from the academic world, where you could be smart and you could be hardworking, but you could still fail. And you need to, or it may be because of external factors like a market crash. What are you going to do, right? So in those scenarios, you still need to be able to, deal with it, take your knocks, keep learning, iterating, and moving forward. So it just takes a lot of grit and perseverance. And in fact, I think when I look at my journey, I think it's sort of perhaps my grit and perseverance that was a bigger contributor to getting me where I am, more than, sort of my, let's say, my technical or intellectual abilities, because, it's not like I'm solving calculus problems every day, right? But I have to deal with patience and perseverance in everything I do. I think another important thing is when things don't work, right? How do you respond and react to it? And an important lesson for me is that it's very critical to fail forward, right? Which means you learn, okay, if something didn't work, why did it not work? How could I change it so it could work? How do I try something different, keep innovating, iterating, tinkering, and so on, right? And you got to have that attitude. It's sometimes easy to get discouraged, but you have to sort of avoid that kind of mindset, right? Also, sometimes you may try something and it doesn't work, but you may be too ahead of your time, right? And then in those scenarios, you kind of have to wait for the market to come to you, right? You have to have that patience, that perseverance. A good analogy is, imagine if you're a surfer with all the skills and great ability, but until you get the right wave, you can't show off your skills, right? So you kind of have to wait for it, and meanwhile keep preparing, keep anticipating, and so on. Another sort of big lesson for me is, team is such an important part of it, right? Because no one person can succeed. I mean, sure, I talk about my entrepreneurial journey, but none of it was alone. All of it was with lots and lots of people and teams and so on. So all these skills around, recruiting and managing, and especially managing different personalities, building the right kind of culture, having the right kind of values, and so on, or being as an entrepreneur, being open to bringing in really smart people. But the problem is, really smart people also want the freedom to do great things. So you can't bring them in and then try to control and micromanage and so on, right? So you have to be willing to let go. You have to be willing to delegate to attract some people. And I think sometimes when founders get insecure, right, or they want to control everything, then by definition, you're not going to be able to attract great people to come and contribute and work with you, right? So really sort of building that, also avoiding, politics, for example, right? I'm very allergic to politics, for example. So I think, making sure that you depersonalize conflicts, right? You focus on the issue, focus on the cause. It's not about personal loyalty to me. It's about, loyalty to the company and the cause and so on. So I think, these are sort of all the, some of the challenges that I've experienced. And I think hopefully, you can learn from those as well. I think, the emotional challenges, right? One thing that often most people don't talk about it is really all the whole emotional aspect of it, right? That it's going to take a lot longer. It's going to be a lot harder. It's going to take a lot of grit and perseverance. It's also going to be a roller coaster, right? So the highs can be very euphoric, but the lows are going to be very depressing. And the only way to stay sane and and navigate through it is sort of to be, to stay stable, to not get, to not be emotionally volatile and so on, and especially when you're leading a team, right? You simply cannot do that. So I think, but nonetheless, I think in spite of the challenges, entrepreneurship is very rewarding in many ways. I think it's the ultimate sort of prosperity generating machine for society. So, and because it's not just about the companies and the equity value that's created, but it's also about the can-do attitude, the confidence, the ability to find problems and not complain about it, but to go solve them and so on. So I wish that, many of you, all of you, become entrepreneurs. So thanks again for having me here and for listening. Hopefully you find some lessons as well. I want to wish the finalists all the best. And I want to wish all the aspiring entrepreneurs good luck in your entrepreneurial journeys, okay? Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you, Virud. Our second speaker is the proud creator of Koo, a microblog app which is also known as India's homegrown alternative to Twitter, presenting Mr. Apramaya Radhakrishna, co-founder and CEO of Koo.
Thanks a lot, Sukriti. Very excited to be part of Code Gladiators 2022. This is the 9th edition, and happy to be speaking to such promising young coders and developers, who are part of this program. I'm here to talk about Koo and my journey, and I'll start with how development of technology has evolved since the 1980s to now. Right, in the 1980s, we actually were developing technology for other countries. Development was outsourced from the West to India. We started learning, and we became very good at it, and we basically were used as resources to develop technology for the West. And that was because most of the devices or the access to internet, access to technology was in the West. And over a period of time, that changed. We stopped, merely developing technology for the West, and we started developing technology for ourselves, for our own market. It started with in the late 90s and early 2000s with Naukri.com, Book My Show, Make My Trip. So these were all ideas that were probably existing on the internet in the West, but for the Indian market, these ideas didn't exist, and we started developing those. Right? We started believing that we could build our own products and not just depend on products made in the West, and that gradually increased the complexity of the problems that we wanted to solve. Then we had Flipkart in e-commerce. Then we had the cab companies, Ola, Taxi for Sure. Then of course Uber came into the market from the West. Then we had food delivery apps. We had so many others like Urban Company and everybody else figuring out how to solve everyday problems using technology. These were all basically transactions. And transactions on the internet were being solved first, and none of the social media or content plays were being solved in India because the number of people who had access to devices that were used to access the internet were limited. But all of that changed with Jio, like in 2015-16, when a broader audience started getting access to internet. They got devices that were cheaper, internet that was cheaper. That is when everything changed. They actually we actually had to go back in time and figure out the fundamental use cases of the internet. Right? The fundamental use cases of the internet include searching for information, expressing oneself, connecting with other people, communicating with other people. So all of this is something that we had to solve afresh, because broadly we had transaction companies for the English-speaking Indians who already were on social and information sites like Google or Facebook or Twitter. But for language-speaking Indians who had just gotten access to the internet, there was no such fundamental use cases of the internet being solved for them. If somebody had to basically get an answer to their question, they wouldn't get it in their language. It was as severe as that. So we actually started off a company called Vocal, which was a question answer app where users could come and use their voice and ask a question, and people from the community would actually come and give an answer to the question in their own language in voice. So this was more human than searching for something with text and then getting a text result, right? So the English behavior of typing in keywords and getting hundreds of links which you will go through, explore, is very different from what the broader Indian was looking for as a solution. The Indians who were speaking language basically wanted to mimic what was happening in the offline world, right? Ask a question with your voice and get back an answer in your voice. So while we were building that, Vocal is a question answer website which basically gets 15 to 20 million monthly active users now. And while we were building that use case, a lot of the people who were answering questions on Vocal asked us why they should only answer questions, and why can't they actually express whatever they had in their mind. That got us thinking. We, as English-speaking Indians, knew the existence of Twitter to express thoughts and opinions. That made us dig deeper. We found out that the numbers that Twitter has in India is extremely small compared to the population. That is broadly because they haven't gone beyond English. And even in the English-speaking world, there are only that many people who felt welcome onto the platform, right? So highly intellectual, very international, 1% of India talking to each other was the use case that they had solved for. But the 95% plus Indians who have thoughts and opinions, but want to express it in their own language, want to be part of daily discussions, whether it's sports, Bollywood, politics, spirituality, poetry, whatever the topic is, they did not have an open space on the internet. Their voices were stuck in WhatsApp groups, which are family and friends. The average user on Facebook is also connected with family and friends, and hence anything expressed there also is limited to friends and family. So we said there is a white space. Thoughts and opinions on the broader internet, on the open internet, where anybody can follow you for what you've said, was something that didn't exist. And we built out a very quick prototype in 2 months, launched it in Kannada, and found that there were a lot of takers. There were journalists in Kannada that we introduced Coup to. And their first question was, where are the known folks? Why would people listen to me? Right? So we basically said, you're writing articles every day. Why don't you just take a picture of that and post it here? Maybe somebody beyond your neighborhood, beyond your town, would want to read it somewhere else in Karnataka, and hence enabling you to become famous. Right? So that was received very well by a few journalists who spoke Kannada and wrote in Kannada. And that gave us, our first few customers, our first few creators who basically came onto the platform and started expressing themselves. From there, we grew into Hindi. So we were very focused on local language to begin with. And then something really awesome happened. There was, in 2020, so this is March 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic. And sometime in June, July of 2020, the government of India launched this competition called Atmanirbhar Bharat, app challenge. And we, as a 3-month-old product, we actually participated in it, never expecting to win it, but we eventually won it, being one of the top 3 social media apps, who won that competition. And from there, we came into the limelight. We were viewed as an alternative to Twitter, which was more inclusive, which allowed the English Indian to talk for the very first time in local languages. I had never spoken in Hindi or Kannada on the internet ever before. It was only after we developed Coup that, me as an English Indian was able to, express myself in local language and, reach out to people who spoke that language every day, right? It increased my audience. And we took this use case to a lot of folks, right? A lot of known celebrities who, a cricketer who wants his fans to come to the stadium and cheer for him. It's the local language speaking audience that actually comes and makes the most noise in the cricket stadium. It is the local language speaking person who stands in a queue outside a theater, buys a ticket and goes inside and watches a movie, right? So they saw the potential that, Coup was going to give them. Celebrities and VIPs would be able to, actually talk to people in their own language every day without having to make too much effort. We've made tools to make sure that it is very simple. We've given, language speaking people the ability to find other language speaking people. Our machine learning algorithms basically help us, introduce one person to another, based on common interests, right? We help people who speak languages and a community to find topics of relevance every day. So our hashtag trends are different in different languages, right? So all of this is what we were able to do with Coup. And, coming into 2021, we basically had, a space where, the government of India and, Twitter wasn't following the local law local laws, and hence the government of India wanted to use an Atmanirbhar platform, and that's when a lot of top ministers joined our platform, and we again came into limelight. Right, it helped us grow tremendously. We were a 30-member team. The kind of scale we saw, we weren't ready for, but it put us into the limelight. It gave us an idea of what India wanted, and based on that, we've spent the last 1 year just developing and making sure that we're localized as a product for language and culture. We follow, because we're operating in India, the rules and regulations of India based on the law of land, and we're also decentralizing monetization, unlike global tech. So all of this is what we've been able to achieve in the last 2 years and a few months, and we actually now see ourselves as a platform that can be much larger than Twitter, not just in India but in several other countries. In just 2 years, we've kind of grown to about 30%, 40% of what Twitter's monthly active users are, and we see ourselves beat that number over the next 1.5 years. And it's an exciting journey. Once we prove this in India, there are several countries across the world, Indonesia, countries in Africa, Middle East. All of these countries have local languages and multiple local languages being spoken in each of those regions. And we would like to introduce Koo as an Atmanirbhar social media app for each of those regions. Just like we're Atmanirbhar for India, Koo will be Atmanirbhar for Indonesia, right? And that's what we plan to do. We've got 35 million plus downloads, in the last 2.5 years. We've got some of the biggest personalities, whether it's Virat Kohli, whether it is Shraddha Kapoor, whether it is, some of the biggest ministers of the country, like Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav or Smriti Irani. All of these people are on the platform expressing themselves to the masses of India in their own language. And we hope to create this revolution across the world. And growth, there are two types of growth that we've seen on Koo. One is an emotional growth, because we're a purely Indian app, made in India, making for the world. And second is, all the disruptions that we've done in the world of social media, like decentralizing policy, including more people with languages into microblogging, and of course, decentralizing monetization, right? Some of the skills as an entrepreneur that have helped us, being extremely agile. I think in the last 2.5 years, we must have gotten 100, 200 ideas that we've quickly iterated and figured out whether it works, not works, doesn't work for our kind of a business. And that's what has led us to come this far. And of course, this journey has also had its own challenges. One is, of course, finding a really good talent, because we're up against global tech. The kind of talent that US has, is much, much higher, but we have the ability. So as long as we believe in ourselves and make sure that, we can dream big. So I think dreaming big and believing that we can beat anybody in the world is something that is growing in India, and it will keep getting better. And as long as we do that, I think we have the talent to beat anybody in reality. Thanks a lot. Thanks for this opportunity for me to address this crowd. And, I want to congratulate the winners of this competition, and good luck to all the finalists, first of all. Very happy to be part of Code Gladiators 9th edition. Thanks a lot, and all the best to all of you.
Thank you for enlightening us with your learning and success stories, gentlemen. We are honored. Finally, we've arrived at the most exciting part of the show, the segment we've all been curious about, the moment when we will unveil the winners of Code Gladiators 2022. The first set of awards for today's ceremony is for felicitating companies who have successfully showcased their coding might with maximum coders participation and registered the best performance in the world's biggest coding competition, TechGig Code Gladiators. To present the award, may I invite Mr. Sanjay Goel, Business Head, TechGig.
Thanks, Sukriti, and these are some of the most coveted awards we give away to the companies. Let's look at the winning teams.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and congratulations to all the winners. It's a sensational moment when we all have joined in to witness the finale of the world's biggest coding event. So do type in #ComeCodeConquer at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and tag TechGig to let the world know that you're experiencing this mega coding extravaganza. Our next set of awards are for the theme hackathons we hosted with HPE, Entity Data, Core.ai, and Microsoft. The first theme awards is for the hottest topics around the globe, the HP Machine Learning Hackathon. May I invite Ms. Cynthia Swarnalatha, Vice President Engineering, Compute Business Group, HP India, Site Leader, to announce the award.
Hello everyone, I'm Cynthia Swarnalatha. I'm the VP Engineering in the Compute Business Group at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. For Hewlett Packard Enterprise, this has been the first year of association with TechGig and Code Gladiators, and we're really excited about this event that it allows us to get visibility to our own talent inside the company as well as talent in the market. As HPE is transforming into an edge to cloud company, cybersecurity is super critical to our business, and therefore we thought it very appropriate to give a topic around a cybersecurity problem around phishing attacks to be solved through AI/ML. We've been overwhelmed with the number of registrations that we got, close to 8,000, and at least 500 that completed the coding submissions. And you would know from by the number of people who made it to the finals, which is around 500 who actually did the coding submissions, the entire process has been really rigorous. Now, having said that, before I go and announce the runners-up and the winner, I want to take a moment to congratulate all of you who participated in the contest, because this has also contributed to your learning. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for participating, and I wish you all the best. Now, let's look at the winners. The second runner-up is and now the first runner-up. Congratulations to the runners-up. And now the champion is congratulations to everybody who participated and the winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cynthia, and congratulations to all the winners. Another set of award is yet another trending technology, Entity Data AI Hackathon. For this, may I please invite Dr. Harsh Vinayak, Senior Vice President, Intelligent Automation and Data Services at Entity Data Services, to give away the awards for this hackathon.
Thank you, Sukriti. Hello, everyone. To begin with, I would like to congratulate TechGig for organizing such a wonderful event. It has been an incredible journey with TechGig Code Gladiators 2022. We have been overwhelmed with the responses we got for the Entity Data AI Hackathon. This clearly reflects the enthusiasm and passion that developers have for using emerging technologies for providing healthcare access and contributing to the overall well-being of our society. We would like to thank all the participants who took part in the hackathon. We understand this is a memorable chapter in your life, and we are proud to support and be a part of it. Today, at the grand finale, we at NTT Data are delighted to announce the winners of the NTT Data AI Hackathon. The second runner-up is the award for the first runner-up goes to and the winner of NTT Data AI Hackathon is congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Harsh, and congratulations to all the winners. Our participants have come a long way for this well-deserved win. This is truly a moment of pride and joy for all of us. Next up is the award for the Core.ai Intelligent Virtual Assistant. For this, I would like to invite Prasanna Kumar Arikala, Chief Technology Officer at Core.ai.
Thanks, Sukriti. Hi, everyone. This is Prasanna Arikala. I hope you all having a good time. I'm really excited, with all this hackathon, with all the participation that we have seen for, Core.ai's hackathon to build virtual assistant using our platform. In fact, I was really impressed by the number of people who are interested in it, like 8,000 people, 8,000 plus people on the registrations, and then 1,000 plus people signing up in our platform. And then there were like 30 really exciting submissions that were there. So I actually went through all of them, and I think, I was very impressed with some of those submissions. So without further ado, I would like to announce the winners. So the award for the second runner-up for Core AI Intelligent Virtual Assistant goes to Congratulations. And the first runner-up for Core AI Intelligent Virtual Assistant Hackathon goes to Congratulations, team. And the winner for the Core AI Intelligent Virtual Assistant Hackathon is a very hearty congratulations to all the participants and the winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prasanna. A big moment, ladies and gentlemen. Our mighty coders have put in their heart and soul to fight this code war, to find incredible solutions. Last but not the least, it's time to felicitate the winners of the Diversity Hackathon hosted by Microsoft. For this, may I please invite Ms. Trishala Jain, Director, Product Marketing for Azure Developer Audience, Microsoft India.
Hi everyone, I'm Trishala here, the Director for Azure Product Marketing, Microsoft India. I take care of the developer ecosystem marketing. We are so happy that we rolled out this hackathon, especially for women, which is called Azure Women's Hackathon, as part of the Code Gladiator. It's a national level women hackathon conducted by us to encourage women developers across India to kickstart their app development journey on cloud, and also is an opportunity to upskill themselves on the new age technologies like AI, machine learning, cognitive services, serverless, blockchain, and more. So the hackathon is a platform to enable every women developers and tech enthusiasts in India. And we saw that happening in this hackathon. We had close to, I think, 4,500 women registering for this hackathon, which was an awesome response for this hack. As I said, we got 4,500 registrations, and we shortlisted about 100 of them who went in to submit their ideas, and we got some great 40 submissions, out of which we picked top 10 teams and then again evaluated and brought them down to 6 top teams. So it's interesting to see the kind of innovation and solutions that have come out of this hackathon. Women in tech have really gone beyond their imagination to work on some of the cool solutions which would empower women across India to do more. So just to call out a few examples, like incentivizing women of India to pay their part and, quiver the roots of unemployment. So basically addressing the need of unemployment situation that's prevailing here. And a transplant platform to bring the NGOs, small scale industries, large organizations and CSR fundings, etc., together to support homeless women with the regular donation method and also self-funding. And we've also seen some cool solutions that they have built to enable women to educate and get trained on an online platform. We've also seen solutions like women health, safety, and upliftment of vulnerable sections. There are some innovation coming in which really fuels the economic freedom for women, and also shaping the idea that women want to build through technology. So with all these things, we actually did a thorough round of evaluation. The top 6 team have pitched to the jury members who are expert in their own field, right from AI, ML, cognitive services to IoT and the entire gamut of Azure services. They evaluated the solutions that have come in, and I'm so happy and glad to announce the winners for Azure Women Hackathon 2022. And the winners are... Many congratulations to all of you, and wish you all the very best for your upskilling and tech journey ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Shala. Congratulations to all the winners. It's absolutely exciting to witness this energy and the enthusiasm of so many young people. But this is just the beginning of the exciting tempo. The ultimate winner is sitting somewhere amongst us. We would now like to go to the most exciting part of the evening, Best Coder Awards 2022. It's time to reward the coding superheroes who've been able to win this war with simple and smart algorithms. To crown the coding diva for 2022, I would like to call upon Ms. Roma Navani Sachdev, Vice President Marketing from Publicis Sapient India.
Thank you, Sukriti. This is so exciting to be giving this Code Diva award. I know this has been a phenomenal event, and so many of you participated, really looked after for who's going to be the Code Diva. So the Code Diva for this year is...
Thank you, Ms. Roma, and congratulations to all the winners. Time to get to the last and the most exciting segment of the award ceremony. It's a gripping moment, and I'm as excited as you all are as we move to the next set of awards. To give away the awards for the 4th runner-up, may I now request Mr. Aniket Shukla, Vice President Magic Pin, to do the honors.
Hey, thanks Sukriti for having me here. I'm really excited to be part of this world's largest coding competition. This year, 3.3 lakh users registered for it. And I'm glad to announce the 4th runner-up. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Shukla. Next up is the 3rd runner-up award. For this, I would like to call upon Mr. Chaitanya Ramalinge Gowda, co-founder WakeFit.
Hello, everyone. Coding has changed and transformed in the 2 decades that I have been working on my career, from creating everything from scratch to now currently working on no code, low code. The skills have changed, but the thought process, the clarity of thought, how coding can actually transform businesses, that has not changed. It's just about how you understand the business requirements and then try to solve those. And that is probably going to be an evergreen skill. So I'm really happy to be here about the Code Gladiators largest coding contest, India's largest coding contest, and to be presenting the award. I wish all the contestants all the very best, and I wish I'm very happy for the winners. So now I'm going to announce the third runner-up. The third runner-up is congratulations to the third runner-up and to all the other winners today.
Thank you, Mr. Ramalingegowda. Now, may I please invite Mr. Amol Gupta, People Leader, India and Philippines, FIS, to announce the second runner-up.
Thanks, Sukriti. Glad to be here with all of you at the grand finale ceremony of Code Gladiators. This is an intense moment where the top coders among the 3.3 lakh participants will be declared. Like you, I am also eagerly waiting to know the winner. But before announcing the winner, I would like to congratulate all the participants. Without waiting much, let's see who the winner is. Congratulations and all the best for your future.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. And now we're moving closer to the final moment. Before we announce the champion's name for Code Gladiators 2022, I would like to invite Mr. Aprameya Radhakrishnan, co-founder and CEO from KU, to give away the awards for the first runner-up.
Hey everyone, I really think coding is a superpower. Each one of you who has learned how to code, and if you do it really well, I think it's the best way to express oneself. There are so many things that we feel so deeply about, we care about. There are problems, there are things that we want to express as humans. So I think if you can code, then you have the superpower to solve anything, right? So that's what makes coding so exciting, and that's what makes Code Gladiators so exciting. And of course, everybody's a winner as long as you know coding. But because we have a competition, there will be a few winners that will be announced. Let's hope the best man wins, and the winner is
I request Mr. Sanjay Goel, Business Head, TechGig, to announce the champion of Code Gladiators 2022. Let's hear it from Mr. Goel.
Thanks, Sukriti, and this is the most prestigious award of the evening. So I'm really excited to announce the winner this time. Let's look at the winner.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and hearty congratulations to our champion. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this wonderful evening. Congratulations to all the winners. I would like to express our gratitude to all the participants who've made this magnum opus possible. A big thanks to our organizers, TechGig, and our wonderful sponsors, our title partners, Oracle and Payfair, Hackathon partners, HPE, Entity Data, and Core.ai, Diversity Hackathon partner, Microsoft, our platinum partner, Persistent, recruitment partners, Coolred Group and Renewby, health tech hiring partner, Providence, diversity partner, Publicist Sapient, diamond partner, Allstate, and silver partner, special category, Allscripts and IG Group. Thank you one and all for gracing this wonderful evening with your presence. We are grateful to each one of you for being here. Code Gladiators in 2023 is going to be more special. We have a reason to rejoice and come together as we will be celebrating a decade of TechGig Code Gladiators. See you next year with stupendous decadal edition. While we celebrate the winning moment, I will leave you with this exciting video for a peekaboo. Stay safe and have a wonderful evening, everyone.